Hey, good morning, Susie. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We don't see this machine too often, the 500A. So this will be fun to kind of run this machine through the paces a little bit today. I did not even have a manual for this machine. They pop up so infrequently. So yeah, they're a little bit of a unicorn machine among the Slantomatic series. A little bit of a unicorn. Yeah, they are a beautiful machine, aren't they? Does anyone that's in the live stream right now remember when was this particular Slantomatic introduced? I talked about this in the last live stream a little bit. If you were taking some good notes, you might remember I gave you the production bracket, the production window for this particular 500A. Does anyone remember when they introduced it and how long they produced this particular Slantomatic, which is this, like I say in the title of this live stream, it is the sixth Slantomatic in that series. So it was quite a ways down the line of the Slantomatics that they developed at the Singer plant in South Carolina. Anderson, South Carolina is where this machine would have been made. Guten Tag and Guten Abend, Tadal. Guten Abend. Nearly Guten Abend, anyway. Wie geht's? And good morning to Kathy King as well. Kathy King, great to have you folks here again. And I was just asking about this particular machine, which, if you look at any of the Facebook pictures, this machine didn't look like this at all when it came into the workshop. It was probably, and I hope I don't offend the owner in saying this, but it was probably one of the most filthy machines that I've had on the workbench in quite some time. And this machine came by way of Joann Fabrics, or they call themselves now just Joann's. It came by way of a referral from Joann's, my good friends out in Marinette, Wisconsin. And they were in contact with Donna Saluski, who said, I'm right in the middle of a project and the machine is making an awful sound. It smells hot and it's breaking the thread relentlessly. And almost like a suicide hotline, the good folks at Joann's out in Marinette, Wisconsin, talked her off the ledge and said, don't worry. We're going to refer you to the Magical Workshop in Oconto, Wisconsin. That just tickles me to death that they refer to it as the Magical Workshop in Oconto, Wisconsin. And Scott will take good care of you. Well, I did. Uh, and if you look at the Facebook shots, I think there's about 230 shots I took, and that's only a fraction of the servicing that I did to this machine. It's only a fraction. And but these 500As, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, they're a little bit of a unicorn. You don't see them very often. And this particular one, you'll notice probably right away if you're familiar with these, it's missing the lid. It's missing the cover, which if you want to do any of the decorative ornamental stitches on this machine, it's pretty doggone important because I don't have a manual for the machine and I don't have the lid. So I had to go to a resource much more valuable than Wikipedia. I had to go to a YouTube channel called Cow Country Vintage Sewing and Restoration. And I was able to find a video that I posted a number of years ago on a machine that came out of West Virginia. It came out of West Virginia. It was also a 500A. And in one of the, at that time, you might remember at that time, I was still shooting video. I wasn't shooting live streams. And at that particular time, I was still taking folks through the laborious process of showing them all the progress shots. I've kind of abandoned that now. And I figure if someone is so determined not to go to Facebook to look at the progress shots, then they're just going to have to miss out on seeing the hundreds of pictures that I take of a machine when it's going through the workshop magic, when it's going through my process. So I'm not going to be taking you through those progress shots, but I sure was thankful for them because in one of the shots, it showed that particular 500A out of West Virginia and the lid was open and I was able to just squint majorly. And I was able to see some of the stitches that I'm going to try to do on this machine today. But on these machines, you've got an option to put a cam in the top, or it's got a built-in cam stack that provides a wide assortment of decorative ornamental stitches. And on these particular 500As, they break them out into two categories. They break them out into primary patterns and they break them out into combination patterns. So you have primary patterns and you have combination patterns. Some of them in that original picture that I displayed during that live stream a number of years ago for that machine out of West Virginia, I wasn't able to read them. But the ones I could read, I wrote them down real quick so that we can at least try to run this particular Rocketeer through the paces with some of the decorative ornamental stitches. And if you didn't know it, this particular model, the 500A, is also affectionately known as the Rocketeer. And that's why on Facebook, when I did my posts and progress shots in this machine, I had to incorporate an astronaut and a little rocket next to my post in the first paragraph, I believe it was. So we'll be doing our best without a manual. I've got so many manuals in the workshop, and I dug, and I could not find a manual on the 500A because they come up so infrequently. They just don't show up very often. And it's not because they don't experience problems. This one certainly had its share of problems, but it's because a lot of them are now out of commission. They've experienced mechanical failures and people decided not to repair or restore them. And so they're off the grid now. But I was really glad to get this one in the workshop by way of Joanne's out of Marinette, Wisconsin, and be able to help Donna out with it because this is really her go-to machine. She's got some other machines, but she just doesn't like them. She just rattled down a list of machines she has, and she says, I've got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. I don't like them any. I don't like them at all compared to this machine here. So, once you latch onto a particular vintage machine, and that machine really, really catches your fancy, that particular machine really, really is, there I am. That particular machine really, really catches your passion and your love. And every time you sit down to it, you know that you're going to have a predictable experience. That's really what it is about sewing, isn't it? When you sit down to a sewing machine, you don't want to have to get out a Ouija board or you don't want to have to roll the dice and cross your fingers and, I don't know, do something else that's superstitious with the hope that that somehow is going to predispose that machine at that particular occasion to do what you want it to do. The goal is to sit down to your machine and for it to be a constant friend that you can sit down and you can count on, right? You want to be able to count on your vintage sewing machine. You can't always do that with the contemporary ones because they get kind of fickle and finicky. Although we've had those on the workbench too, haven't we? And we've had owners that have also had an affection for those. And that's why I say it all the time. Every sewing machine deserves the opportunity for greatness. And greatness means that it has a certain amount of pride, and the owner has a certain amount of pride in that machine. And they want to show it off to people, and they want to show the projects off that they've done on that particular machine. And that's kind of the way that Donna is or was until this one started going south. And I did I've been doing a lot of fun reels. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I've been doing a lot of fun, interesting reels. I've gotten into those. They're kind of cool. And I did a reel yesterday, I think the first one with an actual video shoot of a sewing machine. I've done other, celebrities and fun stuff like that, singing songs and all other kinds of goofy things. But it's the first one I did on a sewing machine, and it was on this 500A. And one of the complaints from Donna was the motor smells hot. It doesn't have much power. And then the thread was breaking all the time. So I focused in on the motor right away. And if you don't know it, these 500 A's and certainly the other Slantomatic machines as well, they come with a tower style motor, which means it's a real tall motor. And it stands probably a good, 12 inches tall or so. And it has a direct drive function to it, where there is a worm gear type output pulley on top. It interlaces with the balance wheel that also has gears on it. And then as soon as you step on the gas, you've got positive traction, direct drive type power. There's no belt on any of the Slantomatic machines. There's no belt. It's gear to gear power. And that's why a lot of folks love these machines. It doesn't matter which one you have. If you've got one of those Slantomatics, you've got a machine that has no belt and it's got that direct drive function. So back to my original question, does anyone remember, and I'll look at the live chat, does anyone remember when this 500A was first introduced and how long they produced it? I already told you it was made in Anderson, South Carolina. That's where it was made. It wasn't made at the plant up in New Jersey. It was made down in South Carolina. So when was this machine made? I'll turn the camera back towards the machine, and we'll start getting busy with this machine pretty quick here. There we go. I think I got a pretty good shot. I'll say hello to some folks as well. And I think Kathy King pretty much nailed it, didn't she? Kathy King is a very, very good student, and she is also a great fellow teacher as well. And she said from 1961 to 1963, guess what? You are absolutely correct. What was the other machine produced by Singer in South Carolina at the very same time from 1961 to 1963? What was the other machine that Singer produced within the Slantomatic series from 1961 to 1963, just like this 500A? Does anyone remember what that machine is? Not the 401, Sonny. That's a great guess. And I'm going to ask Sonny, as a dear friend of mine, a fellow student, a fellow teacher, Sonny, would you please type this date into the live chat for the 401? The 401 was produced from 1956 until 1961. So the 401A was produced from 1956 to 1961. So that was really one of the very first primary machines in that Slantomatic series that came out of South Carolina. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you to both of you ladies. Sunny typed it in, and then also Susie typed it in as well, which is fantastic. So, yeah, that's when the 404, or excuse me, the 401, that's when the 401 was produced, was 1956 to 1961. The other machine that was produced at exactly the same time, in exactly the same time bracket as the 500A, was the 503A. The 503A has similar attributes in its design features to the 500A. They look very, very close. They look like they could be sisters. Yes, they do. And the only difference is the 503A has even more of a curvaceous cruise line type body design to it compared to the 500A. They're both beautiful machines, as you can see, but the 503A is probably one of my all-time favorites. And I've mentioned this in the last live stream way back when we did that fundraiser for the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana. I gave a number of Slantomatics away to entice people to make donations to help out the History Museum. Sonny got one of them. And if I remember correctly, Sonny got a 404, which is the straight stitch only version of the Slantomatic. Does anyone know when the 404 that Sonny and Craig won because of their generous donation when we were doing that fundraiser for the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana? When was the 404, which again is a straight stitch only machine, when was that produced by Singer down in South Carolina? And they also, by the way, the 404 is kind of the exception to the rule. The 404 was also made initially in Elizabethport, New Jersey. That was actually its primary place of production, where all the other Slantomatics, for the most part, were all made down in South Carolina. So Sonny had a great pick. It's probably, people talk about the featherweight making a perfect straight stitch. You ought to see the straight stitches that Sonny's 404 produces, and you will be so jealous. You'll be so doggone jealous. You're going to hate Sonny because her 404 is just crazy when it comes to producing a gorgeous, gorgeous straight stitch. All right, I'm going to go down the list real quick of live chat and just greet everybody because I think we have some new folks that are joining us as well. So I've already said good morning to Susie, my dear friend from Minnesota. And I've already said Guten Tag and Guten Abend to Tadel from Deutschland, aus Deutschland. And I've already said good morning to Kathy King and to who else? To Sunny. And let me see who else we have. Emma, good morning to Emma as well. And good morning to Linda. Linda Wolf Koenig. Linda Wolf Koenig, if I'm saying that correctly. And that name seems to imply that Linda might be from somewhere other than the US, but maybe not. She might just have Germanic type roots based on her name. But welcome to Linda as well. I think that's the first time I've seen her particular name, but my leadership team would know better than I would. So I don't want to speak on a turn. But Susie or Sunny or Emma could certainly confirm whether or not Linda's brand new to our group. I believe she is. Oh, boy, am I off. Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky. What a beautiful place. What a beautiful place. So I totally forget what other questions I was asking you guys. I asked so many questions during these live streams, I sometimes will lose track of them. And so let me rewind and just start over. And if I asked a question and it wasn't answered, if one of the moderators could type the question that I asked into the live chat, and I'll provide the answer to it if no one has answered it otherwise. But does anyone know? And I'll ask another question. Does anyone know what the very first machine was in the Slantomatic series? And if you want brownie points with me, tell me when it was introduced. What was the very first machine in the Slantomatic series, which the 500A is part of? Again, this came out in position 6 as far as the Slantomatic series machines that were introduced by Singer. But what was the very first machine that Singer introduced to do a grand introduction of this type of machine that they wanted to introduce to the very loyal Singer customer base that they had at the time? So Emma typed 301A, and Kathy King typed 301. In this particular instance, and most of you know this, Emma is like all of the leaders on my team, very knowledgeable about vintage sewing machines, very passionate. But in this instance, Kathy King is actually correct. The 301 that was made at the Elizabethport, New Jersey plant was the very first machine introduced right around 1951. And it was introduced as the grand introduction of the Slantomatic series by Singer. Again, a machine that does not have a belt. It's got a direct drive type function to it. And the 301 was produced from 1951 to 1952, only 1 year. Only 1 year. And if anyone for that matter will type this particular number into the live chat, it's how many they made of the 301 at the Elizabethport, New Jersey plant. And I always like to throw this number out there because I refer to the 301 and the 301A as the big sisters to the featherweight. And we all know that featherweight owners have like a very, very exclusive following. They're very proud of their featherweights. They're very, very proud of their featherweights. They almost have a cult type mentality when it comes to, oh, you don't have a featherweight? Sorry, you can't join our club, members only. So I always like to point out that the 301 and the 301A have a greater exclusivity, have a greater rarity than the featherweight that everyone's always bragging about. And when the 301 was first introduced in 1951, and then they ceased operations of it in 1952, they only made, drum roll, 185,750. 185,750. Now, if you know anything about Singer production groups, I talk about that all the time. The average Singer production group is around 50,000 machines, sometimes as many as 100,000 machines. And they will have multiple production groups during the course of a calendar year. The fact that they only made in the course of a calendar year 185,750 of the 301 machines, the very original big sister to the featherweight, really, really raises the value, in my opinion, the intrinsic value of that particular model. 185,750 compared to the 3.5 million featherweights that they made over the course of the production bracket time that they made the featherweight sewing machine after being introduced originally at the Chicago World's Fair right around 1933. So, you know what? If you own a 301 or a 301A, I say it all the time, you should stand up proud and tall if you're interacting with featherweight owners, because your machine is more rare than their little princess of Singers, as I call the featherweight. So let me look at the chat real quick. Answer is 300 as the grand introduction. It's both my family. Let's see. I was thinking what Tadell just wrote. I was thinking the same thing when I saw Linda's name, that she probably has German roots in her ancestry, and that's exactly what Tadal just said as well. Yeah, that name just seems to resonate Deutsch, doesn't it? It does to me anyway. That's a great question. What is the big brother to the featherweight? What is the big brother to the featherweight? Um, I don't know that there is the equivalent of a big brother to the featherweight. I would point at the 222K, but that really is known as the queen of singers, the free arm featherweight version. I don't know that there is a big brother. I think within the featherweight family of sisterhood, there's no brothers, none that I can think of anyway. Although there were some other manufacturers that made some tilt bed style machines, including Kenmore, that made some tilt bed style machines, and maybe they are the brothers of another mother that would somehow be connected to the featherweight in some way. I honestly don't know. That's a great question. Maybe we should come up with a big brother to the featherweight, since it already has two big sisters, the 301 and the 301A. So, real quick, I will rattle down, and you don't have to capture this. If someone is a great scribe and you're really fast with your fingers and you want to try to capture this, then by all means capture it. But otherwise, it'll be as an audio record to document the full series of the Slantomatic family. I always like to cover this because you don't find it out there on the internet very reliably, and a lot of people get it wrong as far as the dating. So I want to restate it again real quick before we jump into this 500A. So as we've already determined, the very first machine in the Slantomatic series was the Singer 301, introduced in 1951 to 1952 at the Elizabethport, New Jersey plant, and they only made 185,750 of them. Then they started producing a 301A equivalent down in the Anderson, South Carolina plant. That started in 1953, and they produced the 301A until 1957. And in that production period, from 1953 to 1957, they only made 514,250. 514,250 of the 301As. So I said this in the other live stream. If you add those two numbers up, if you add 514,250 and 185,750, it is a fraction of the number of featherweights that were made over a much longer period. So again, if you own a 301, if you own a 301A, stand tall, look good. You ought to be in Hollywood. Stand tall, look good. You ought to be in Hollywood. We used to sing that in the military. If any of you are former military folks, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, you can be proud of your big sisters of the featherweight because they are much more rare. They are much more exclusive when it comes to the total production numbers over the period of production cycles. So, no hit to featherweight owners. I love my featherweight owners too, but stop strutting around like a peacock, like you have something over the 301 and 301A. You don't. You don't. Sorry for popping your little featherweight bubble. But the 301, the 301A, even combined with production numbers, is significantly more rare in overall production than the featherweight ever could be. So there you go. There you go. There you go. And yes, of course, the 222K, the featherweight convertible, the queen of singers, made in Kilbowie, Scotland only, over an 8-year period is even more rare than the 301 or 301A. And I have to say that because they only made about 100,000 of those over an 8-year period in Kilbowie, Scotland. That's the 222K, the featherweight convertible, the featherweight free arm. So I've got to say that real quick for the record so I don't get nasty notes from someone that has a 222K and say, why are you beating up featherweights? My featherweight convertible is more rare in production numbers than a 301 or a 301A. Yes, I bow to you. Yes, I bow. The 222K is more exclusive and has a greater rarity as far as overall production over the 8 years that they made that machine in Kilbowie, Scotland, than the 301 or the 301A. So I wanted to set the record for that so I don't get a bunch of nasty notes, because a lot of them come in by way of Facebook, and then God bless Christine and Bill, they have to read these nasty notes and they kind of sit back in the wings to see what I'm going to say. we get some weird notes through Facebook. If anyone else wants to apply to become a moderator on the Facebook Cow Country page to work with Bill and Christine from Canada and myself, reach out to me and I'll put you through the vetting process, and maybe we can get you in there so you can be behind the scenes and see some of the really interesting questions and requests for research and other things that we get from all around the world. It's really quite interesting, quite interesting. And kudos to Sonny and Paula and Olga and Hans, who have served in that role historically. They've been in that role of supporting the operations on the Cow Country Facebook page, and they did a brilliant job, and were incredibly patient in helping a lot of folks. So thank you again to people from the past that served in that role. It's such a vital thing for us to be a resource and a voice of truth in answering questions for folks about their vintage sewing machines around the world. We got to set the record straight, don't we? Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Oh, good morning to Candido. Good morning to Barbara. I think I've caught everybody so far. I think I've said hello to everyone. All right, a quick rattle down. I was going down the list and then I kind of stopped. So once again, the first machine in the Slantomatic series, which this 500A is a part of, was the 301. Like I said, 1951 to 1952, 185,750 made. Then came and that was from the Elizabethport, New Jersey plant, just to clarify that. Then came the 301A from 1953 to 1957. They made 514,250 of those. And then after that came the 401A. And we had talked about this a little bit earlier in the live stream. That was produced from 1956 to 1961. Then came the 403A, and that was produced from 1958 to 1960. Then came the 404, that very, very coveted straight stitch Slantomatic machine that Sonny and Craig, I won't even say won, but they were awarded that machine for their generous donation to help out the History Museum in South Bend, Indiana. That 404, which was again produced primarily at the Elizabethport, New Jersey plant, not down in South Carolina, that was made from 1958 until 1963. And then the last two machines in the Slantomatic series were the 500A, the Rocketeer, and then also the 503A. And those machines were produced from 1961 to 1963. And that is the Slantomatic family. So you have that as a resource to share with other folks, because again, it's a little bit hard to find those numbers on the internet. And some people mispost what those numbers are. So you can be the voice of truth stepping into your groups of influence. And if that question comes up or someone postulates incorrect information about the Slantomatic machines, you can, with kindness, set them straight and give them the actual information so that they can then become an ambassador and pass that along to other folks. Oh, and we have and the leaders are already on it. They've already introduced themselves and welcomed another new person to our live chat and to our Cow Country family. And it looks like Adzim. Adzim, and forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong, but at any rate, welcome to, I think it's Adzim. Adzim Con, Convexy, something like that. Indonesia. Wow. You know what? Isn't it so cool? Isn't it so cool that our family reaches around the globe? The moderators have a more clear recollection, I'm sure, than I do of all the people from all the places that have visited our live streams. And again, on a monthly basis, we have between 35,000 to 85,000 unique visitors to our Cow Country YouTube channel. 35,000 to 85,000. And during the pandemic, we peaked to about 110,000 unique visitors within a 28-day period on the Cow Country channel. And as I look at the analytics, we have about 110 countries that follow our work through these live streams and through our videos that we post as well on the channel. So that's a big deal. And again, I couldn't do this on my own. There's no way I could do this on my own. And that's where my leadership team comes in, lending that critical support and being that welcoming committee and being that resource bank of knowledge during live streams like this, because I get distracted so easily and I wouldn't catch those questions. And then someone would leave or someone would come into a live chat and never be welcomed. And they would feel like, wow, that's not a very nice group of people. They're not very friendly. But that is remedied by the leaders that are part of the moderating leadership team on this channel. So thank you again to all of them. Thank you to all of them for the great and vital work that they do. So, all right. So I'm going to stop blah, blah, blah. And actually, let's get going on Donna's 1962 Singer 500A. And I'll just give you a quick little walk around this machine first. And also, I'm going to ask you a question at the same time. The question is, as I walk around, and you don't have to answer it right now because I'm eventually going to slide this bobbin case slide plate. I'm going to slide this slide plate open, and I'm going to show you the bobbin that's in there. We're going to talk about the orientation of the bobbin. But does anyone know straight away what type of bobbin do the Slantomatic machines take? Does anyone know what type of bobbin the Slantomatic machines take? If it helps you as a clue, I'll tell you that it's a very common bobbin in the Singer family of machines, including the 201-2. So if that helps you, type it in the live chat so we can share that knowledge with others that might not know. So let's go around this machine real quick and take a look and see the lay of the land on this 500A. Again, you don't see these machines very often. So way over here, I'll just focus on this first, where you can see it says 500A model 500A right there. This is going to be our area for controlling stitch length. When we unscrew this, because you can lock this into place so that it doesn't move while you're sewing. When you unscrew this and move it all the way to the bottom, you're going to be able to generate 6 stitches per inch approximately. And then if you move it all the way up into this fine range, right about in there, you're going to be doing around 30 stitches per inch. If you move it all the way to the top, you're going to be sewing in reverse. So it's in my opinion, it's a very easy control area where you can do a variety of different things with the machine. And then if we drop down here, in the absence of a control to drop the feed dogs, what they elected to do on this 500A and a number of the other Slantomatics as well, is they elected to go with a control that actually raises the throat plate. So instead of the feed dogs going down, the feed dogs stay exactly where they're at, but the throat plate comes up so that you're able to do free motion quilting and freehand embroidery. and you just slide it over to the middle point. This is kind of the darning portion right here, where the feed dogs are still going to be able to feed the material, but it's going to be a lighter feed. It's going to be a more gentle feed if you're working with something very delicate. So you can move it right here to the middle section if you want to go to kind of the light touch of the feed dogs. And then you can move it all the way to the left if you want to pop that plate up, kind of like you can see it right now. And that allows you to slide this off. You can clean that lint out of there. And then when you're ready to resume sewing, you just lock it back into place again, just like I did right there. So it's a really nice feature. I really wish they had done the throat plate riser on other Singer machines other than just the Slantomatic. I think it's really a cool alternative to dropping the feed dogs, and it's so convenient. It's right there on the front of the machine. You know, you can just flip it and flip it back, and you're good to go. All right, let's go up here now. This is a little bit daunting, and again, this is a little bit of a naked machine because it's missing the cover that it's supposed to have. It's missing the cover, which also tells us what the stitch settings are for this control right here. And so at any rate, focusing on this, again, you can use cams on these machines. There's a cam in there right now. You just slide it in. You can pull it back out when you're done. Bobbin winding over here. This has a clutch release right over here. You just hold the inside one that I'm touching right here, and you turn this one towards you, and then you can disengage the clutch for bobbin winding. This one also has collapsible spools on it, which are pressed down when that lid comes down into position. Without a lid right now, I can't demonstrate it real well, but I can just show you they're on a spring. And the whole idea is then by them collapsing and that lid going down, they're less likely to get broken off. I actually had to replace this one right here that I've got the spool setting on because that was snapped off. And that's a pretty common occurrence with these collapsible spool pins, is someone is moving around or they lose their lid or they take their lid off or whatever. And then all of a sudden one of these gets snapped off. And then I added this extra spool pin as well for Donna so that she has an option of 3 when it comes to winding a bobbin or feeding the thread as well. So back to this control real quick. This control is going to allow you to set those cam functions. By this gold one right here, you're going to be pushing it in and then rotating this up or down to one of these letters you can see right there. It's basically A through J. A through J. And then the brown one just on the other side of it, this one right here, instead of pushing it, you're going to be pulling it towards you. You're going to grab your fingers like this and pull it towards you. And then you can adjust this one right over here between special, which is to operate the cam function on top. You set it on special when you want to access whatever cam you have right here. Otherwise, you go between R and K, and then you can set it to generate those primary or those combination patterns that I mentioned near the beginning of the live stream. And then this control over here is going to be a couple of things. It's going to be a set point when you're working with cams. When you're working with the primary patterns, which we'll be sewing some of those today, you can set this anywhere between 2 and 5. Anywhere between 2 and 5. When you're working with the combination patterns, the book and the Singer experts tell you to always set it on 3. So remember, again, you've got 2 different groupings of stitch possibilities that are built into this machine. The first one is going to be primary patterns. There you have some discretion in setting your stitch width between 2 and 5. But on the combination patterns, you need to set it on 3. So just make note of that so you have a good outcome. Now the threading of this machine is kind of weird, a little bit weird. So I'm going to show it to you. We come off the top right here. We go through this first thread guide right here. Then we're going to drop down to this thread guide right here that I'm touching with my clippers. And we kind of come from the bottom up into this thread guide. Then we're going to come over the top of this thread guide and drop the thread in through here. There's actually a little slit on the side. Then we're going to come around our tension discs. And I say this all the time, but make sure your presser foot lever is in the up position when you thread the machine. You've got to have your presser foot lever that's just behind here in the up position, so there's no pressure on the discs, and you can slide that thread deep into there. When you come around those discs onto this other side, you've got to draw this check spring or this take-up spring up so that that thread will then seat in this little notch right there that hopefully you can see. You got to seat it in that little notch right there. Then you're going to come behind this thread guide, this one right here. You're going to go up to your take-up arm and thread your take-up arm from right to left. You've got another thread guide right here that I'm touching with my finger. Another thread guide right here. And finally, another thread guide. Well, I shouldn't say finally. I stand corrected. You've got another thread guide right here. And then finally, you've got kind of a hidden thread guide. And I can't tell you how many people have missed this thread guide. But see where I'm touching with the clippers right there? There's a little slit right adjacent to the needle, attached to the needle bar. You've got to slide the thread into that little slit, and then you thread the needle from front to back. So a lot of thread guides on this machine. You've got that thread guide adjacent to the upper tension right there. You've got another thread guide right there. You've got another thread guide right there. And then finally, you've got this thread guide that is missed by a lot of people right there with that little slit. Kind of move the clippers out of the way. And again, you'll just kind of draw the thread from right to left into that little slit, and then you thread that needle from front to back. So the needle we have in the machine today, so I don't forget to mention it, the needle we have in the machine today, let me shut off my light real quick. The needle that's in the machine today is one of the needles that Susie from Minnesota sent me. It is a Schmetz top stitch, size 90-14. This is the needle that I've got in the machine today. Let me get my hand cupped and I'll kind of shoot it like that so you can see it clearly. So it's a top stitch style machine needle. And Susie can type as a reminder, if she would, into the live chat, what exactly is a top stitch needle? What is that about? What are the unique attributes or the unique features of this type of needle that we're going to be using on this live stream today? And finally, I'm going to open up my slide plate, and you're going to see our bobbin in there. And I wasn't looking at the live chat, but if someone typed that we're going to be using a class 66 bobbin, you're absolutely correct. The Slantamatics use the 66 bobbin. A lot of Singer machines use the 66 bobbin. And does anyone know, as far as the orientation, when we drop the bobbin into this raceway area, how is the thread going to be orientated? Is it going to be coming over the top? Is it going to be coming underneath the bottom? And which way will the thread ultimately, or excuse me, which way will the bobbin ultimately be turning when it's dispensing the thread in the sewing process? So I'm going to look at the live chat. I'll hook up the camera again so we can jump into this machine, and I'll see what answers you all have thrown out. And I guess another question to throw at you at the same time, since we're looking at it, is this 500A set up with an oscillating hook system, or does it have a rotary hook system? Oscillating means it moves like a pendulum. Rotary means it goes in a full circle as it's in the sewing process. Okay? So let's see what you guys came up with as far as that. Trying to get my camera angle set up for when we're actually going to be sewing with this machine, which we will be doing eventually, I promise. Yeah, Emma's right, and Sunny is right. Emma and Sunny are absolutely spot on. It is, in fact, a rotary hook system. No fault to Barbara at all. Singer went back and forth all the time. Especially, they did a lot of flip flopping when they developed and produced all of those Class 15 sewing machines that I've talked about before. And they would go from rotary to oscillating, oscillating back to rotary, rotary to here. No feed dog drop, and they would just bump, 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 bump all the time. So, but yeah, this particular one does in fact have a rotary hook system. So as it's sewing, it's going to be going in a complete circle like this over and over and over and over again. And again, with rotary hook systems versus oscillating, they're a little bit more temperamental if you change to heavier threads. And the thread we're using today is a basic Coates and Clark dual duty XP thread is what we have on the machine today. And again, I purchased those from Joanne Fabrics in Marinette, Wisconsin, because particularly I think from Friday to Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, they offer a buy 3, get 2 free. So I buy a lot of their Coates and Clark XP thread. It's really a good utility thread, and I use it quite a bit on this channel. Quite a bit. All right, let me get that set up there. Yeah. And that's, you know what? I love the fact that we can learn and we can relearn and we can learn from each other. It happens to me all the time. I get those people sometimes that will contact me and they'll treat me like a savant. They'll treat me like, oh, great and mighty Scott, tell us your wisdom. Yeah, that's my answer to that. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly learning, and I learn a lot from all of you, just as you learn from me. I learn from you all the time as well. So, yeah, if you ever meet anybody in a sewing group or something like that that thinks that they have all the answers, run very, very fast. Run away. Come back another day. Yeah, don't even come back another day, because yeah, they need to understand that they're always a student and they're sometimes a teacher. It doesn't matter what level of experience they have or what level of notoriety they have in our vintage space. They're constantly learning. You guys remember even when I interviewed Alex Askarov, who is an accomplished vintage expert and has written a number of books on vintage machines as well. During our interview, I was talking about the fact that we're always learning, and he shared a story that I really thought was cool. He was talking about one of his customers and how they were picking up a machine, and he was going to explain something to them. And then they went on to explain something that he didn't know. And he goes, I had no idea that you could store needles in there. No idea. And so we're constantly learning. And they say the beginning of wisdom is to recognize that we don't know everything, because then we have a hunger to continually try to seek to learn. And, it's humility sometimes, isn't it? We have to humble ourselves a little bit to be able to step alongside someone and say, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not sure about this. Or have you ever seen this before? And we have to humble ourselves in that respect. And by doing that, we then gain that knowledge, and then we can take it out in our circles of influence, and we can share it with others. That's really the power of knowledge, is to share, isn't it? To share and to listen. Yeah. Yeah. Constant and never ending improvement. We're constantly making stuff better and doing things in a better way. It's a certain level of well-placed pride. Well-placed pride. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Okay. Yeah, Sonny is right. The 404, by the way, out of all these Slantomatic machines, there were a total of 7. There were a total of 7 Slantomatic machines. Do you know which Slantomatic is most popular among quilters? Which Slantomatic is most popular among quilters? Is it the 301? Is it the 301A? Is it the 401A? Is it the 403A? Is it the 404? Is it the 500A that we're looking at today? Or is it the 503A? Which of those machines is most popular, hands down, no doubt about it, among quilters? Does anyone know? Yeah, and Barbara, give yourself a pat on the back. Matter of fact, I'll give you a ring on the bell as well. Barbara is absolutely correct. Out of any of the Slantomatic machines, the most popular model, hands down, bar none, is the Singer 404 because it is exclusively a straight stitch machine, and quilters absolutely love it. They don't want all the other bells and whistles. They want a straight stitch machine that lays down a stitch that featherweight owners will look at and go, oh, you must have done that on a featherweight. No, I did it on a Singer 404. What? Yes, a Singer 404 lays down a straight stitch that featherweight owners would be incredibly envious of. And it is sought after by quilters upside down and right side left. I don't know if that's a thing or not, upside down, right side left, but at any rate, it sounds fun. And yeah, so yeah, the machine that Craig and Sonny got as a result of their generosity in donating to that fundraiser we did is the most sought after Slantomatic machine for quilters. Absolutely. No question about it. All right, let's get going on this. Let's get going. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the light off because I replaced Donna's incandescent bulb with an LED bulb, and you see how it's kind of creating a little bit of a glare across there. If I shut it off, we have a fairly crisp and clear view of what's happening at the needle. So I'm going to leave it like this. And thankfully, the light is wired separately, so we don't have to have the light on to sew with this machine. All right, so let's start out with the bare basics. Let's start out by me not bumping the camera. Let's start. Oh, I never rewind. I mentioned something else. And like Emma and Sonny and others have said, Scott, we love you. You're a brilliant guy. You're world renowned, but you'll ask a question and then you'll forget to circle back and give us the answer. So I'm going to see if I can remedy that, at least with one of the questions I asked. And that was what about the orientation of the bobbin as the sewing process is occurring? Does it go clockwise or does it go counterclockwise? Does it go clockwise or counterclockwise as the thread is dispensing? So if you've already answered that, if you want to throw your answer out there one more time, and I will look at the live chat, so I actually end up answering a question that I've asked, which, I'll probably get a text message from one of the leaders saying, hey, great job, Scott. You got that one, but you missed 3 others. Yeah, I did. Oh, geez. Oh, I do. I miss him. All right. Yeah, welcome to Mary Turner. Great to have you here. And yes, this is a 500A. This is a 500A Singer, also known as the Rocketeer. And Emma B, one of our rock stars in live streams, oftentimes coming up with the answers that are pretty tough answers sometimes, is absolutely correct. As the thread is dispensed, I'll kind of pull a little bit of thread. You can watch this turning. It is, in fact, turning counterclockwise. So that's another clue. If you're setting up your Slantomatic machines, not just the 500A, but any of the Slantomatics, just remember that your thread as it's dispensing is going to be turning counterclockwise, okay? All right. I think we're finally ready. We are finally ready. Oh, we are on the road. We are on the road with Candido. Drive safe, Candido, please. Drive safe. Drive safe. Okay. Well, let's start with a basic, good old-fashioned straight stitch. See if I can do that. And what I'm going to launch with, is 100% cotton with a stiffener in there. We'll start down and lay down a straight stitch here, and then we'll launch into some of the other stitch options for this 500A. All right, so here we go. And again, it's become a very common mantra for me, a very common reminder. But when you're launching with any sewing machine, when you can, if you can, always launch with a take-up arm at the highest position, and it should be in the process of beginning that downstroke. See how it's starting to move on the downstroke like that? And what that's going to do is it's going to free up the engineering and the mechanics of the machine so that you can launch with a lot more ease, and you're not going to generate a lot of bird nesting and other stuff like that down on the bottom of the material. Okay, I think that's a pretty good shot. Let me real quick wipe off my glasses, which are, I don't know how glasses get dirty by you just sitting and doing nothing. I mean, I'm doing something, but I'm not really doing much. And yet, I guess constantly the dust is moving around, isn't it? And then it sticks to your glasses. It happens to me all the time. If I had a nickel for every time I clean my glasses for looking at things closer up, boy, oh boy, I would jingle a lot. Oh, and welcome to Mesa Group, aka Bill from Minnesota. Welcome to Bill as well. And Bill, I didn't know. I'm sure you told me. I'm sure you told me. But I didn't know that you had a YouTube channel where you present a variety of different things. And I believe recently you were showing the basic teardown of a Montgomery Ward machine or something like that. Susie from Minnesota shared that with me, and she says, "Hey, look, Bill's wearing the hat that you sent him that I made." And it was great to see you. And that she sent me a little video clip of you behind the camera, and you had the cow country hat on, which is awesome, amazing. Thank you. And glad that Susie again made those for us. And would you all remind me before we end the live stream today, we've got to open this box behind the machine and check out the new hats that Susie just got done making and sent to the workshop. Okay, we got to check those out, and I might even offer to give some away today. So all right, so finally, all the blah blah blahing after almost an hour of this live stream, we haven't even sewn with the 500A yet. And yet, if I say that to all of you because we enjoy each other's company, because you love learning things from me and I love learning things from you, and you love interacting with folks from around the world, and you love sharing little bits and pieces of what's going on in your life with them, you didn't even realize we've been running for an hour already. I'm quite sure of that. So our time goes so fast when we're together, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Okay, so let's get a straight stitch done finally with this 500A. All right, here we go. Ooh, I changed just before the live stream. I changed bobbins, and an interesting thing happened. And this is the reality when you're sewing. You may have all of your tensions. You may have all of your tensions set. And you change out the bobbin, and then all of a sudden your tensions are off. And that's because when you're winding a bobbin, sometimes you'll wind the bobbin a little bit differently than the other one. Also, the bobbin might be a little bit different because they have primary bobbins, they have aftermarket bobbins and everything else. And so all of a sudden, we've got a almost completely undefined top stitch, where before with the other bobbin, I did all of these sew-offs with this machine, and I've got a nicely defined top stitch. So don't fret. We should be able to correct it fairly easily by simply adjusting our upper tension now that we have a different bobbin in the machine. So we have an underdefined top stitch. We're going to be backing off that upper tension a little bit. Our lock stitch is crazy defined. Look at that. Our lock stitch is crazy defined. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lock stitch. And I thought about it. I thought, well, should I really change that bobbin out or should I just stick with the bobbin that I had in there? And I elected to do a bobbin change out. So, you know what? For sake of time, plus it will be a learning lesson as well. Either way, is I can do one of two things. I can either take the bobbin out that I put in there and we can go back to the original bobbin that I had the machine calibrated to, or we can recalibrate the upper tension so that we can get the definition of that top stitch back. Type in the live chat what you want me to do. Should we swap out the bobbin and jump back into this? Or should I recalibrate the upper tension so that we can use the existing replacement bobbin that I put in there? I'll let you guys pick. I'll let you all pick. I'll leave this out for right now. Yeah, we'll just swap the bobbin out. I think that's fine. We're going to swap the bobbin out. Swap it, swap it, swap it. Okay, so if you're swapping a bobbin out, just open up your slide plate. Some of these singers will have a little button you can depress to pop the bobbin up. This one doesn't have it, so you kind of have to come underneath with your fingernail a little bit and kind of pull it up and get a hold of it. And then I always kind of hold on to my top thread at the same time. And I've shown this to you before. And you can see this one right here that we're operating with. We've got the original Class 66, which has only one hole right there. And then we have the Class 66 bobbin that came out later that has 4 holes. This is the one that I'd popped in because it was a little bit more full than this one. But it threw the balance off with the top and the lock stitch. So we're going to set this one to the side with the 4 holes and go back to the original one that I had in there. And again, when you're putting it into the machine, make sure you have the thread over the top like this. And then as you drop it in, and you know what, I'm going to do one thing real quick, just to show you again how important it is in maintenance for your machine. Is about every 4 to 6 hours of sewing, if you have a machine similar to this, you're going to want to take some sewing machine oil on a Q-tip swab and just gently swab the inside of that bobbin case. This is our bobbin case in our raceway. You're just going to swab it out a little bit. And I've done this multiple times in the servicing of Donna's 1962 500A. But I think we'll find that it is a little bit dirty anyway, even in spite of that. And then you can do this with this particular one because it doesn't mount on a stem. You don't have to swab the inside of the bobbin like I showed you on the other machine to give it a little bit extra turning ability. Then just drop it in again, the thread over the top, like so. And you have to draw it from the front to the back. And I'll see if I can point at it for you. There's just a tiny little slat that draws that thread underneath the tension spring. The tension spring is right here. And when we draw that thread to the rear, we're drawing it underneath that tension spring so that we can maintain proper tension. And then if you do have to make adjustments, there's 2 screws on the front of here. The one on the right, a smaller screw, is going to be the set screw that holds that tension band in place. The larger of the 2 on the left is going to be the adjusting screw. And again, if you turn it clockwise, it's going to pull down harder to define that top stitch. If you turn it counterclockwise, it's going to define that top stitch less. Let me actually change the camera real quick and just show you, see if you can actually see what I'm talking about as far as those screws. So that screw right there on the left is our adjusting screw. The screw on the right is going to be our set screw. And I know a lot of people, they don't like to mess around with the bobbin tension. It is hypersensitive. In other words, where you can make an adjustment up top, you can make an adjustment up top and it's not nearly as hypersensitive. When you make adjustments on the bobbin case, it's a little bit more hypersensitive. So just be aware of that. A little gets you a long way when it comes to these machines. And I'm just going to hold my thread back here and we'll go ahead and pull that thread up. And actually you can, and they've done this very intentionally. You see we have a little opening right here. You can actually, on this model, you can slide this shut, let that thread go into there, and then it'll still allow that thread to be pulled up. A lot of them, you have to leave that throat plate open when you're doing that. So there, a little loop came up very nicely. We're going to draw that to the front. We'll bring that to the rear. Now we haven't changed anything on the tension, as you can see in the shot. We're going to sew that same stitch line and see if we get a different result. See if we get a different result with the very same stitch settings. And it'll take you back again, where if you've ever experienced that anomaly where you're sewing and all of a sudden you change out the bobbin and you might not even consciously think about it. Hey, I just changed the bobbin out. That's why things are off now. All of a sudden you just sit back down to the machine and things are going crazy with tension. And it can be as simple as you're using a different type of bobbin. Again, like I showed you, I swapped it out for that 4-hole one, which is going to have a little bit of a different spin up in that raceway than the 1-hole one. So let's see if our hunch is right and we can get back on track with a better defined top stitch by simply changing the bobbin out. Okay. All right. Let's see what we get. Here we go. Now we didn't do a thing, right? You saw me. I didn't touch a tension. I didn't do a thing. And look at that. All of a sudden, we move my hand out of the way. All of a sudden, almost like magic, we, at your prompting, thank you again for the input, you said, swap it out, Scott. Don't goof around. Just swap the bobbin back out and put the original one back in that you calibrated the machine to. Here we've got a gobbledygook top stitch. It's very, very poorly defined. We changed out the bobbin as all of you had wisely suggested. And now look at that top stitch. Solid, solid, solid. Page 34 plus. Absolutely as it should be. I'll try to get a little bit closer to the camera so you can see it. So if that ever happens to you, you're right in the middle of a project and you're like, I don't want to run out of bobbin thread. I do not want to run out of bobbin thread. Don't want to do it. And so you change out your bobbin, thinking, what's the big deal? All I'm doing is changing my bobbin out. I'm just changing the bobbin, for goodness sakes. And you get a result like this. And you're horrified. You're like, oh my gosh, my machine is broken. I've got to take it to cow country right away. But I'm in Indonesia. I've got to buy a plane ticket. I've got to pack my bags. I've got to store my machine safely in the plane so that it doesn't get damaged. No, you don't, because you're really, really smart. And you can go back to this video and go, aha, ah, ha, ha, yeah, baby. Naughty, naughty bobbin. Naughty bobbin. Naughty, 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 naughty bobbin. You messed me up. You gave me this when I should have gotten this right there. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's a great lesson to learn, and I'm actually glad that that happened. So we could cover that on this 500A, and the same thing can happen to any other machine. If all of a sudden you change out the bobbin, it can go goofy on you. And especially if you go from an original bobbin to an aftermarket bobbin, where if you use a device like this, it's called a mechanical caliper. and you compare aftermarket bobbins to original bobbins, you'll find out that they can be off sometimes by as much as 2,000ths of an inch. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but it's a big deal when you're talking about the kinetics of that bobbin spinning very rapidly in the raceway and the wobble it can develop and other issues like that if it's not made to the original spec exactly. That's why I always say you can go with an original bobbin, go with an original bobbin, because they were incredibly meticulous about getting their calibration spot on those bobbins back in the day. The same thing with the needles back in the day were made just to a standard that's off the charts. And now the same needles, I would not recommend them to anybody. If you go to Walmart or Joann's or anywhere else and you see the brand new Singer needles, do an about face. Walk away, walk away, walk away, walk away. Go with a Schmetz needle or go with a vintage Singer needle instead, and you're going to have great results. So we now have a new saying, the power of the bobbin, the power of the bobbin. No changes. We just flipped out the bobbin like you suggested. We swapped it out. We went from this, the top row, to the second row. And the lock stitch is no different. First time we had a really overly pronounced lock stitch, and now we still have a very nicely defined lock stitch as well on the back. All right, let's go on to our next stitch, which is going to be a straight stitch as well, but I'm going to shorten it up quite a bit. I'm going to shorten it up quite a bit. So over here, I'll just kind of tilt the camera. Over here, I'm going to take our stitch length. I'm going to bring us down to about 10 to 12 stitches per inch, right in that neck of the woods. 10 to 12 stitches per inch. Just going to bend this down a little bit more, hopefully get you a little bit closer to the action. There we go. That's good. Okay, so a straight stitch again. Let's just shorten it up quite a bit, shall we? Let's just shorten it up. First thing I have to do, though, is what? First thing I have to do is take our take-up arm up to the highest position. Right now, we're way down here. I'm going to rotate that all the way up, and we're on that downstroke now. Oops, there we go. Okay, regular straight stitch. Let's check this out. Here we go. Oh, that is teeny tiny. Holy mackerel. Jiminy crickets. You could go a lot smaller than that. That's only at about 12 stitches per inch. That's about 12 stitches per inch. We could go a lot smaller than that easily. We turn it over. Our lock stitch is equally, this is our lock stitch, equally impressive. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. That's our top stitch again. Lovely stitching. All right, let's finally migrate away from the straight stitch. The straight stitch is a wonderful thing to sew, but we're gonna do a little bit of playing with this machine. We're gonna be doing just a little bit of playing with this machine to show the decorative ornamental side of it as well. I want you to check out the decorative ornamental side. We give these threads a clip and we'll kind of launch. I think we'll start into something real basic like a zigzag, and then we'll kind of migrate around a little bit and try some other things. So if we want to do a more standard zigzag output, we've got to make some changes on the machine. Usually if we want to do a zigzag, all we're going to do is we're going to change the stitch width, right? Generally, all we're going to do is change the stitch width. But on this particular machine, you've got to do a little bit more than that. You've got to adjust this knob and you've got to adjust this knob from its regular setting to a BL setting. So the first one I'm going to push in, and I'll show this to you from the front as well. But I'm going to push this in and I'm going to rotate it down to B. And then I'm going to pull this brown one here and I'm going to rotate us to L, which is just one click up. And I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I do it. Okay, I think I've got it straight. I think I've got it correct. Let's go around to the front and I'll show you what I just did. So we adjusted this one first, this gold one. And again, that's done by pushing it in and then rotating it. And we adjusted it over to B. Move my finger out of the way. And then we grabbed the brown one right here and we pulled it towards us and we rotated it up one position from K to L. I didn't mention it specifically, but if you're wanting to sew a regular straight stitch on a 500A, you need to set the gold one to A. You need to set the brown one to K. So just remember AK. AK. AK is for straight stitching on a 500A. If you don't set this to A and the brown one to K, you're not going to get a straight stitch with this machine. And I didn't mention that specifically. So now we've modified it a little bit. We went away from the AK and we changed the gold one to B and we changed the brown one to L. So right now we're on BL. And hopefully, that gives us a zigzag, at least some sort of a zigzag. Yeah. All right, let's see what we get. I'm gonna check my camera angle here. There we go. Okay, I think that's a pretty good camera angle. Okay, let me get this orientated correct. Get this in. And the only other choice I have to make when I'm going to do a traditional zigzag like this is where do I set my my stitch width? Where do I set my stitch length? Just come away again. So I have my stitch width right now on 3. I could move it over to 4, which I will. Move it just about over to 4. This is going to be our stitch width. And then I've got my stitch length on 6. I can actually shorten that a little bit and maybe move it up to 7. So I've got my stitch length on 7. I've got my stitch width now set right around a little bit below 4 in that neck of the woods. And I've got these controls. The gold one is on B. The brown one that I pull towards me is on L right now. So I've got BL. All right, let's see what we got here. This again is like a snake. I've got to kind of bend it. I've got to manipulate it in order to get it facing on an angle where you can see what's happening at the needle just a little bit more clearly. There we go. I think that's a pretty good shot. All right, so hopefully, keep your fingers and toes crossed. Hopefully we get a zigzag now. Again, I don't have the benefit of having the lid that tells me how to set these things. I don't have the benefit of an owner's manual, so I'm kind of spitballing it a little bit. Let's see if we get a zigzag. Hopefully we do. All right, here we go. This machine, you can't see it. You saw it in the Facebook shots, has one of those original Bakelite foot controllers with a little button. And with my big feet, sometimes it's hard to get my foot on that button just so. So bear with me for a second here. All right, here we go. Let's try it again. Hey, yeah, that looks like a zigzag. Yeah. Hello, zigzag. Hello. Hello. All right, let's rotate the needle up. And again, if you're joining us late, our setup is we're working with a top stitch needle that Susie sent me from Minnesota, along with a lot of other wonderful things, a lot of other wonderful needles. And by setting this machine to BL, we just got a very, very lovely balanced zigzag stitch. Kind of moved my thumb out of the way there. I got to pull more thread. I don't have quite enough thread fed so I can move it around. So a beautiful zigzag there. We turn it over. This is our lock stitch, which is an equally gorgeous zigzag stitch as well. We've got a very good balance. And again, we're working with that bobbin that I calibrated the machine to originally. And we're getting a beautiful balance, top and bottom on the stitching. Top and bottom. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. All right, let's give the thread a clip. And now we're going to launch into Dangerland. We're going to launch into Dangerland, sewing some of those ornamental stitches based on the settings I was able to get off of my old video of that machine that I did for a wonderful family out in West Virginia. And some of you might remember that 500A, or you can look it up on the channel. You just go to the landing page of the Cow Country YouTube channel, and you look for that little hourglass, or not hourglass, that little magnify glass on the right side of the page. You click it, and then you type in Singer 500A, and you'll see that other video I did way back when on that other machine out of West Virginia. I think that was the first machine ever. Yeah, I know it was. That was the first machine ever that we had gotten from the great state of West Virginia. Had never gotten one before. Nope, that was the first one. Just making a quick little adjustment to our threading up here. I wish I had more nimble fingers. I really do. As we get older, our fingers are not as nimble as they were at one time, are they? They're not as nimble as they were. I've got a lot of static electricity right now in the workshop, which makes things a little dicey sometimes with the machine. I'll just show you real quick kind of what I just did. Hold on one second. Bear with me for a second here. I'll show you what I was doing. So this, on this machine right here, when you're threading it, I'm actually going to, there's a tensioner. Let me actually unthread the machine and I'll show it to you. It's probably easier. As you're operating a machine like this, there's a little tensioner arm that will grab that thread. See it swinging down right there? It'll grab that thread and it will initiate the tension on that thread from up top adjacent to the upper tension and pull it down between these two joining points right here. The problem with this design is if there's just a slight little bit of static, the thread will work its way out of these threading points. And you have to sometimes tuck it back in there. Sometimes it's just easier to rethread the machine. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. So coming off the top, this is actually beneficial. You can actually see me do it through here, through that first thread guide. Then we're going to drop down here, come up through there, through that thread guide, through this thread guide. Then again, we're going to be coming around the upper tension. My pressure foot bar is in the up position. Then I'm going to hold my thread right here and actually draw that spring up so that it seats that thread in this little notch area right there. So I'm actually drawing that thread up. And now that thread is in the notch area. I'm going to bring it behind this threading point right here, this thread guide. I'm going to spray a little bit of water on the floor real quick too. That'll help. That's the problem when you're in colder states, is the air becomes very, very dry in the winter time. And it can create a little bit of a challenge for sewing machines because of that static factor. Let me give that a clip real quick as well. Threading our take-up arm from right to left. Now we're coming down here. Oh, too much. There we go. Now we're coming down to here to this thread guide. Just draw it in from the right to the left. Another thread guide there. Another thread guide there. And don't forget that final thread guide right there above the needle. You draw it into that slat. And then you have the thread nicely centered right there on the needle. I'm going to bring that needle to the highest position. I always drop the presser foot. It's just a little bit easier for me. And then you just find that hole. And again, I don't know if Susie typed it in the live chat. I'm guessing she probably did. One of the benefits of a top stitch needle is that it's going to have an oversized eye on it, which makes it a little bit easier to thread. And I specifically chose this needle because Donna had said her eyesight's starting to get a little bit bad, and it's harder for her to see that needle eye when she's threading it. So I'm going to leave this top stitch needle in there, and I might even give her a couple of extra top stitch needles. Plus, I'm going to give her a threader as well, a vintage threader, and that'll make it a little bit easier for her also. You know, it's a little bit harder as we get older, isn't it? A little bit harder to see things, and if we can have a little bit of a help on that, it makes a big difference, doesn't it? Makes a big difference. Okay, so that was, you know, I don't like having to redo things because we're so busy during these live streams, but that's okay. It gives you a different vantage point of the actually seeing me thread the machine up. But again, because of the design and the engineering of this 500A with that sweep pre-tensioner up here, that's going to push that thread down and try to make that thread have a little bit of pre-tension before it goes in the upper tensioner. It creates a little bit of an issue for us. It creates a little bit of an issue, especially in a static environment like this. So I'm going to grab my little water bottle real quick, and I'm just going to spray the carpeting down below because I have my heater running as well, and hopefully that will help us a little bit in dealing with static. And you can do the same in your sewing space, is get a little water bottle like this. Just don't spray it by your foot controller. Remember, your foot controller is electrified. Spray it away from your foot controller, or pick your foot controller up and spray underneath it as well. And then you can eliminate some of that static factor that can cause issues with your thread in particular. Cause a lot of issues with your thread in particular. Okay, let me change the camera angle again, get us back to the correct angle. All right. And thank you for your patience, but I think it was a good learning lesson for us, wasn't it? It's a good learning lesson. All right. So we're on BL right now. Now we're going to go to a different stitch. We're going to, we're on BM. Let me see what we just did here. BL, BM. Now we're going to migrate over to BN. So I'm going to leave the orange one over here, the gold one, I should say. I'm not going to change this one, but I'm going to change the brown one by pulling it out and adjusting this over to BM. And we'll see what stitch difference we get from there. Some of these stitches are going to be real close, real similar. So I just moved this one to BM. And again, that's by pulling this brown one out and then just turning it like a dial. You do the same thing with the gold one, but instead of pulling it, you push it in and then turn it like a dial to set it to the appropriate letter. Okay. So let's try BM now, BM. There we go. I think I got that angled pretty well. Yeah. All right, let's give this one a go. See what we think of this one as far as stitch option. And some of these I'm going to be experimenting with a little bit, so I might end up sewing them twice so I can change the stitch length and give that stitch a totally different look. All right, here we go. Let's give this a try. Oh yeah, we're going to change this one. So you can see we have a totally different stitch pattern, but I've got it too long right now. I've got it way too long. So I'm going to try adjusting that stitch length down, and we'll sew the same pattern and see how it changes the look of it. That's the one we just got. You can see it's trying to generate something, but right now it's pretty undefined. Right now it's pretty undefined. So we can define it better by shortening up that stitch length. By shortening that stitch length up. So I'm going to do that off camera real quick. So take our stitch length down to probably around 10 to 12 stitches per inch. And see if we can change the look of that pattern. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit shorter. Go to about 15 stitches per inch. Close to 15 stitches per inch. We'll see what we think of this one. All right, here we go. And now it's starting to come into form. Look at that. We even need to go a little bit further. We can go a little bit further than we did, but it's starting to look at the difference between these two. It's exactly the same stitch pattern. This line right here and this line right here. Now, what I'm going to do to change the look of this a little bit more is I'm going to make that stitch just a little bit wider, because again, on the primary patterns, which we're sewing with right now, with the primary patterns, we have some discretion in setting the stitch width. So I'm going to make it a little bit wider, but a lot tighter. And we'll sew it one more time and then we'll stop with it. But you can see that it's a dramatic difference. We went from the zigzag here to this first pattern stitch under the primary patterns, and it was really undefined. Now we're starting to zero in on it. We'll do it one more time and see what impact we can bring. And again, all I'm doing is goofing around with stitch width and the stitch length. Give that a clip. Give this a clip. Okay, so what I'm going to do real quick, and I'll actually show you me doing it. I'll show me doing it. That was almost English. It was really close. So right now we're on BM. I've got the gold one set on B. I've got the brown one that you set by pulling it out. I have that set on M right now. We've got our stitch width on 3. Now, if we were not sewing a primary pattern and we were sewing a combination pattern, we wouldn't have any discretion to move this. But because we're sewing a primary pattern, we're able to manipulate a little bit. So I'm going to move it over to 4. And then I'm going to take my stitch length and I'm going to make it even shorter. Right now, we're right around close to 15. See if we can't shorten it up even a little bit more. And that'll tighten up that pattern just a little bit more than we have it. So I'm pushing it up probably almost at 20 stitches per inch now. Really close to 20 stitches per inch. Our stitch width, we moved it from 3 over to 4. And we're going to leave our pattern selector just where it is right here. Let's see what we get this time. And again, we could goof around with this all day long. We could goof around with this all day long, making subtle changes between stitch length and stitch width, and we can make the same pattern look entirely different. Entirely different. All right, taking my take-up arm all the way up. Let's try this again and see what we get this time. All right, here we go. Now, we haven't changed our stitch pattern at all, right? All we've done is manipulated stitch width and stitch length, and we've gone from something that is incredibly undefined over here in this row, in this column. Very, very undefined, nothing impressive about that whatsoever. Then we migrated over to here, we made a couple little more adjustments, and now we finally have this with making the adjustments of stitch width and also shortening that stitch length dramatically. All of a sudden, the engineers and the designers of this machine back in the day are saying, oh, thank goodness, he finally figured it out. And this is what they wanted us to see from the very get-go. But again, I don't have a manual. I don't have the lid giving me recommended settings. So we're spitballing, going from this to this, and finally now to this. And as I'm looking at this, we could even make that tighter and even more defined by shortening up that stitch length even more. That's what I would do anyway if I were going to be sewing this particular pattern, which is, again, the BM pattern. B like boy, M like Mike. This is the BM pattern on this 500A. But look at the migration that we made, dramatically made, from this to this, and now finally to that. What a difference, huh? What a significant difference. And again, it's exactly the same pattern. All we're doing is manipulating stitch length and stitch width. Clip those threads real quick. Let me pull that thread a little bit, and we'll see if we can look at that lock stitch. There's our lock stitch on the back, which is just as impressive. It's a lovely stitch, but again, we could make it more impressive by, I would say, making that stitch length almost into the fine range. The fine range would be between 20 to 30 stitches per inch. And then we're really going to tighten that pattern up, make it really, really nicely defined, and giving it a lot of pizzazz. Yeah, beautiful stitching nonetheless. All of this stitching is beautiful, but now we've revealed, finally, we've revealed what the engineers and designers at the Singer factory in Anderson, South Carolina, when they built this machine back in 1962, they didn't intend for us to see that or that. They intended for us to see something more like that. Yeah. So that's our lock stitch. That again is our top stitch. Yeah. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun discovering things together and revealing things together? Yeah, I think so. So we just did the BM stitch. Now we're going to migrate over and we're going to do another of the decorative ornamental stitches. And it's going to be the BN. B as in boy, N as in Nancy. We're going to do the BN stitch next. So all I'm going to change real quick, I'll just show you. All I'm going to change is the brown one on the inside. I'm going to pull that towards me, and I'm going to move it from the M to the N. Moving it from the N, or from the M, excuse me, the M like Mary, to the N. I'll just show that to you real quick. Yeah, and it's really quite easy to do, to make these changes. I'm just kind of showing it to you so that you can visually see what I've done to change in generating a different stitch pattern. And off camera, what I'm going to do real quick, off camera, on camera, is I'm going to make that even just a tiny little bit shorter. Just a little bit shorter. I'm reluctant to go all the way into the fine range. Again, you can see here the fine range over here is going to give us about 30 stitches per inch. If we move right into this little fine range, we're almost on the edge of it. We're right on the edge of it, which is going to tighten up that stitch pattern as we're sewing this BN, B as in boy, N as in Nancy. As we're sewing that BN stitch, it's going to tighten up just a little bit more, give us a little bit more stitch definition than we currently have. There we go. Okay, so let's do this BN program now, this BN stitch pattern. Okay, all right, here we go. Take up arm up, there we go, got it now. I was looking to see, I paused there for a second because if you go too fine on the stitch length, the pattern is basically, I mean, you're going to get bunching. It's not going to move enough because we've got a lot of needle swing, but we are moving. I'm gonna stick out the course. I'm not going to adjust it, and we'll see what outcome we get. If it's a little bit muddly duddly, then I'm going to go ahead and move that stitch length back down away from the fine range just a little bit because we're working with a size 90-14 top stitch needle. If we were working with an embroidery needle, say a size 75-11, we would be able to go even finer on the sewing. But right now we're working with what Sunny calls a quasi harpoon needle, a 90-14. We're not sewing with a traditional embroidery style needle, which would be around a size 70 or size 75. We're sewing with a much larger needle. So I've got to be mindful of that, not to take us too fine on the stitch length. Otherwise, we're going to get a muddled stitch and not a pronounced stitch. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Here we go. All right, I'm going to stop right there. The other thing I didn't cover, and I'll just cover it real quick. We'll flip this around and look at this stitch initially. Isn't that a lovely stitch? And I'm sure that all of you that are really knowledgeable about stitch names can look at this stitch and can say straight away what it is. But this again is going to be our BN, our Bravo Nancy stitch that we just laid down there. Quite lovely, quite lovely. I like it a lot. So some of you probably already have a name for that stitch. But the other thing I didn't cover real quick, and I'll show that to you because I should cover that, is as we're migrating through this cotton that has a stiffener with it. It's got a stiffener with the cotton. It's 100% cotton, but it has a stiffener. We're sewing with a certain level of presser foot pressure. Now, as you're looking at this machine, let me pull this out and look at the lock stitch real quick. This is our lock stitch on the back of it. Beautiful, beautiful stitching, I think anyway. Very lovely stitching. As we're sewing different material types, we might have to make adjustments to the presser foot pressure. How the heck do we do that on a 500A? Again, our beautiful lock stitch. Top stitch again. There it is. How do we make adjustments to the presser foot pressure if we want to have different pressure down on that material? Well, on the 500A, let me clip this and we'll get it all set up for the next one. On the 500A, it is tucked away. It is tucked away. Yep, I've got that orientated correctly. I was double checking that I didn't have it flipped the other way. There we go. As we're working with a 500A, we've got to open the faceplate in order to access. And I'm going to be turning you sideways, so don't get nervous. You're safe. This is going to be our presser foot. Let me just take the camera off real quick. That's kind of silly. This is going to give us our presser foot control right here, and it's a dial style. So you're going to turn it to a larger number if you want more presser foot pressure. You see right now we're set, I believe, on 5. Let me just double check. Yeah, right now we're set on 5. You can see that little window right there. That's showing us that we're on 5 right now. So if we wanted to increase it, all we would do is turn it towards us. And now we're up on 6 or 7. And our max out point is going to be 8. So this would be our max right there, is 8. That's if we're sewing something like a real heavy leather or multiple layers of a material. We're going to be turning it all the way up to the max of 8. But for our purposes right now, I don't think we need to quite go that high. I think 5 is working nicely for us so far. If we go to leather, we might bump it up to 6, but for right now, we'll leave it like that. The other benefit, and this is true of a number of the Slantamatics, is they also have a threading diagram inside of the faceplate as well, so you don't need to necessarily pull out your manual, which we don't have anyway. We don't have a manual, so thank goodness this is a quick reference if you want to verify your threading of the machine as well, which is nice. But we'll leave this on 5 for right now. We'll leave that on 5 for right now. All right, let me bend this camera back to a position so we can see what's happening down there. Yeah, a little bit more bend there. Yeah, that's a good angle, I think. I think that's a pretty good angle. All right, so now we're going to go from BN, Bravo Nancy. Our next primary pattern that we're going to try to sew is BO, Bravo Oscar, Bravo Oscar. So I don't have to do a thing with the gold one. The gold one I'm going to leave alone, but I do have to change the brown one. Again, the gold one you push in, the brown one you pull out. Push in, pull out. So we've got to pull the brown one out, and we're going to move it from BN to BO. And I do it with 2 hands. It's just a little bit easier for me. So I've got this on BO now. Now we're going to be sewing this next stitch pattern. I'm not going to change the stitch width. I'm going to leave it at 4. I'm not going to change the stitch length. Yeah, we'll leave the stitch length as well. We got it really tight right now, but we'll leave it alone. We'll leave it where it's at. All right, get that adjusted back so you can see what's happening there. And I don't know about you, but I think that these Slantamatics that sew decorative ornamental stitches do a beautiful job, don't you? And we're not even sewing again with an embroidery style needle. We're sewing with a 9014 top stitch needle by Schmetz. It's a wonderful needle, but it's not the ideal needle to be using for sewing decorative ornamental stitching like this. It just isn't. So let's do this next stitch pattern, see what we think of this. Again, this is BO, kind of like body odor. This is our body odor stitch, but I'm sure there's probably a better name for it than that. I'm sure there is. We'll give that a stitch and see what we think of it. All right, here we go. And on this particular stitch, with the current stitch length settings, we're not getting enough needle movement. So I'm going to rotate that needle upward. I don't know if you saw that. The material was not moving. So I'm going to adjust it down just a little bit off camera, on camera now. We're really close to 20. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit and see if that gives us the material feed that we're looking for. And you'll find that on different stitch patterns, certain stitch patterns, because of the overlay of the thread, in other words, that needle is hitting the same area multiple times very rapidly, you've got to adjust that stitch length back just a little bit and not be quite as aggressive moving towards that fine range, especially when you're working with a 9014 needle instead of an embroidery style needle. So I made that quick little stitch length adjustment. Let's see if that gives us our mobility for advancing the material that we're looking for. Hopefully it does. There we go. All right. You notice now we're moving. Before we weren't moving. We were kind of static. And when you see this stitch, you'll probably understand why. You can see right there where we were static. We weren't moving. We didn't have mobility right here on the end. And I noticed that straight away. And so I stopped, and all I did was adjust that stitch length from about 20, 25 down to about 15. We're probably like around 15, between 15 to 18. And then all of a sudden, we got beautiful movement. So watch for that. Watch for that if you're working with one of these Slantamatics that can do ornamental stitching. If you launch and you're not seeing adequate material movement, stop. Stop right there and just be a little bit less aggressive with your stitch length, taking into account what that needle is trying to do before it's advancing that material. It might be a little bit too much, and that's okay. You can make the adjustment and you can have success. Let me draw that thread out. We'll take a look at this stitch now. Yeah, and I don't know I'm not looking at the live chat, but you probably have an entirely different name for that. It's not quite a blind hem stitch, but it kind of is going that direction, isn't it? Yeah, beautiful stitching. Let's turn over, look at that lock stitch. Yeah, no difference other than our little gobbledygook down here where I was too aggressive with the stitch length. I was too close to that fine range for this type of a stitch pattern. We adjusted it a little bit less aggressively, and then we started to move beautifully, laying down a really, really lovely lock stitch as well. Yeah, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next primary pattern, which is going to be BP, like the gas station. I think that particular gas station line got into a lot of trouble environmentally for a while. They had some issues going on, didn't they? So we're going to be sewing the environmentally friendly stitch now, the BP stitch, after they cleaned up our environment, after having, I think, a major oil spill or something bad went wrong for that company. I remember that in the news, don't you? Yeah. So let's do the BP stitch next, the BP. And I'm going to get a little bit of water to, actually, I'll do better than that. A little bit of Diet Coke real quick here. All right, let's do a BP stitch. And I'm just going to tilt the camera a little bit that direction. So again, we're not changing anything with our gold knob. We don't have to push this in at this point. Let's not push this in. There we go. We're not going to push this in at all, but we are going to pull this brown one, and we're going to move it from where it's at right now on BO to BP. We're going to change this to P, the brown one. So I'm pulling it out, rotating it up to the P now. So I'll just show that to you real quick. We're not going to change anything else. So you can see our brown one that we pull out is set on P, and our gold one that we push in is set on B still. We haven't changed a thing. We haven't changed a thing. Yeah. All right. There we go. I think I finally have it adjusted. Okay, so I will leave the stitch length where it's at. I won't be overly aggressive. We'll try sewing this next pattern now, which is the BP pattern, and we'll see what we think of this one. And again, with the primary patterns that we're sewing right now, we can have some discretion on adjusting the stitch width. Right now we have it on 4, but once we move into the combination patterns, we've got to set that on 3 for the stitch width and leave it alone. We can mess around with the stitch length, but we won't be able to mess around with the stitch width shortly when we get into the combination patterns. Okay? So let's give this a go. We'll get that take-up arm all the way up. There we go. And let's try this next primary pattern now. Again, this is the BP pattern, the gas station that is now friendly to the environment. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they want to be friendly. Let's be friendly. All right, here we go. Oh, isn't this an interesting one? Isn't that interesting? I don't know what you would call that pattern, and I'm not going to give it a name, but I'm going to let all of you type into the live chat. What is this pattern called? Kind of an interesting one, isn't it? See if I can advance that thread a little bit. We'll get a little bit closer look at that pattern. So this again is our environmentally friendly pattern, the BP pattern, B as in boy, P as in Paul. Yeah. That's our BP pattern. BP, just like the gas station. I got to give myself a little bit more thread. There we go. Yeah, that's an interesting pattern. I'll be interested to look at the live chat to see what you're calling this pattern. Just curious what you'll be calling it. This is our lock stitch now. Now we're on the back of the material. We're looking at that lock stitch. Again, we could get a lot better stitch definition and clarity of stitch if we were using a smaller needle. But even with a 9014, we're doing quite well, I think. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful stitching, beautiful stitching. I love it. So I'm going to look at the live chat because I haven't looked at the live chat for quite a while. I don't get concerned about following the live chat real close because my leaders are there. They're taking care of business. They're in charge. So thank God for them again, kind of keeping an eye on the store while I'm busy over here, so I can focus on the machine and they can take care of all of you and make you feel welcome and also be there as a resource to you. But I'll be curious to see what you're calling that stitch because I have no idea. I know what I might call it, but I'm sure it'd be wrong. I'm quite sure it'd be wrong. All right, let me just let go of the camera for a second. Oh, jack-o'-lantern. I like that. That's cool. The brick retaining wall. I like Sunny's too. And I was turned away from the microphone for a little bit, so that's probably why the sound kind of went away a little bit. I've got the microphone over there on the left side of the workbench, and I turned away from it, just like I'm turned away from it right now a little bit. So, oh yeah, it's like a castle tower type stitch, isn't it? Kind of a castle tower stitch. I like that a lot. Oh, hello to Aaron as well. Hello to Aaron. And I'll get it right this time, hopefully. Aaron is from Vermont, not Connecticut. I totally moved her the other day. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's great to have Aaron here as well. And Aaron, I had the privilege of preparing a Swedish beauty for her and also a Japanese clone machine as well. And it's always great to have Aaron as part of the live chat too. I learned a new word. I love it. Don't you love learning new things? Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun learning new things? Yeah. Okay, so that was our castle stitch or our jack-o'-lantern stitch or our environmentally friendly stitch, whatever we want to call it. Yeah, we could call it a number of things. So that was our BP stitch. And now we're going to do a BQ stitch. A BQ stitch is going to be also a primary pattern on this 500A. So I'm going to be, I'll rotate the camera up and I'll just show you, I'm not going to touch the gold one. I'm not going to push this in and change it to anything at this point, but I am going to pull this brown one and I'm going to move from BP to BQ now. So I just moved the brown one to BQ and we'll see what stitch we get from this. All right, let's give this a go. All right, here we go. Oh, I know what I'd call this one. This is one of my favorite stitches, and I call it a 3-point zigzag because of the way the needle overlays into the same position more than once. The three-point zigzag gives a zigzag stitch a totally different feel and a totally different look from a traditional zigzag like this we did all the way over here in column 1, 2, 3. Column number 4, we did a traditional zigzag. And now we've done this 3-point zigzag. You can see the contrast between the two. It's pretty obvious. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the 3-point zigzag. One of my favorite stitches. I got to pull a little bit more thread. There we go. Very, very nice stitch. I love that stitch a lot. I think all of you know that. We turn it over, lock stitch. No difference. Got a beautiful lock stitch as well with that 3-point zigzag. Yeah, very nice stitching. Lovely stitching. And again, that's our lock stitch over here. And the clarity of the stitch for that lock stitch, even though we're sewing with what Sunny calls kind of a quasi harpoon needle, 9014, instead of using a smaller embroidery style needle, we're still getting some really good outcomes with the clarity of the stitch from Donna's 1962 500A. So I'm very pleased with the outcome. That's our top stitch again, right there. Whoops, I got my thread caught there. It's our top stitch again for all the stitching we've done thus far. Yeah. We'll give that thread a clip and we'll do one more. I think we have one more. Yeah, we have one more primary stitch to do, and it's going to be BR. B as in boy, R as in Romeo. B as in boy, R as in Romeo, we're going to be doing next. Get our 100% cotton back into position again. Press your foot down. There we go. Okay, so off camera, on camera, what I'm going to do real quick is change us from where we're at right now, which is BQ. Yeah, BQ. If I said BP, I was wrong. I was behind. BQ, which is where we're at right now. And now we're going to change it from BQ, because we already did BP. I'm stuck on being environmentally friendly, apparently. Now we're going to change from BQ to our final primary pattern, which is BR, B as in boy, R as in Romeo. There we go. So I'll just show you real quick what we changed it to. And again, the gold one you're going to push in, the brown one you're going to pull out. The gold one controls the left side. The brown one controls the right side as far as setting patterns. And again, we don't have a lid, so we can't read the patterns up here. We don't have an owner's manual. So, yeah, we're kind of shooting from the hip today. So let's do BR next. BR will be our final primary pattern on this 500A. Our final primary pattern on this 500A. Let's see what we get with this one. And I'm moving my take-up arm. That's why you'll see that material moving a little bit, the needle moving a little bit. Just make sure I have it far enough in so the feed dogs can grab it. There we go. It should be pretty good. Okay, so our final primary pattern with this 500A is the BR pattern, Bravo Romeo. Bravo Romeo. All right, here we go. Oh, this is a fun one. This one is a fun one. You'll have, I think you'll have a lot of fun naming this one. We've sewn a similar pattern to this in the past, and folks always come up with a variety of different fun names for it. See if I can get a little bit closer to it. Wipe my glasses off real quick, and then we'll take a look a little bit closer up. See if I can pull that thread a little bit. There we go. A little bit more. Yeah, we've sewn this pattern, similar pattern to this before. It's really quite a lovely pattern. And folks will always come up with a different name for it. Yeah, that's a really nice one. Turn it over, look at the lock stitch. This is our lock stitch over here on the back side. Yeah, and some of you may have typed a word in like sea waves or something like that. If you look at it kind of like this, it kind of looks like waves, doesn't it? But I'm sure that maybe someone came up with a totally different name for it as well. And that's the fun thing about stitch patterns. I mean, even going back to the day when we used to use something called fashion discs, kind of like the one that's in the top of this 500A right now, we would come up with different names for the pattern for fun. So yeah, top stitch and the lock stitch for that particular stitch pattern. All right, so we're done. We're done, at least for our purposes. We're done with the primary stitches right now. And you can see if we can move over to some of the combo stitches real quick. Move over to some of the combo stitches. But before we do that, I think I'm going to go ahead so I don't forget to do it. I'm going to real quick, I'm going to set us all up so we're all set to go. I'm going to change the camera angle a little bit, and we're going to open up Susie's box so we can see what kind of hats did she prepare for us this time. Turn that like that, like that, like that. There we go. I'm bending this snaky thing all over the place. There we go. I think that's a pretty good angle for it. So let me grab Susie's box real quick. We'll bring it around this way. And I did remember to block out Susie's address so she doesn't have anybody trying to come and visit her unwantedly. But you can see how our entire family, and this happens all the time, where people will just choose to send me something really cool. They'll send me something really, really thoughtful. And there's an investment. There's a cost involved, isn't there? I mean, to ship something like this in a priority box, it's a large flat rate box. That's got to be like 15, 20 bucks, plus the cost of the hats and the value of Susie's time as well. I'm really humbled. I'm really humbled by the generosity of folks like Susie that will make an investment like that. And I'm pushing on here and it feels really tight. There's not much clearance. So I'm going to be really, really cautious in not cutting too deep because I don't want to damage these super cool hats that Susie thoughtfully prepared. Cut down the side first. I'm going to shorten this blade even more and cut through here. See, I didn't realize it flapped like that, where there's another flap here, and it was guarding, and I probably would have folded this wrong, so the hats would have been right underneath here, but Susie was smart and folded it like this, so we've got that extra protection, don't we? And again, Susie does this just out of kindness, and because she loves all of you, and she loves the Cow Country family, and sends all of these hats with no expectations whatsoever. You know, I've offered to try to reimburse her a little bit, and she's just like, oh no, I get the hats on sale, and you know, I love to be a part of you know, giving something like this. But how incredibly thoughtful, don't you think so? And Susie is in the live chat right now. Susie is in the live chat. And, you know, I'd just like to thank her again and thank all of those folks that are so generous. So let's give a hat or two away right now. I'm going to show all these hats, and I will let my leadership team, Susie and Sunny and Emma, and I don't know if any of the other leaders are present right now, but I'm going to let you ladies pick the number of hats we're going to give away today. It can be one, it can be two, or more. And I'll show you what hats we have available. I've got some other hats from the previous shipment, but I'll just show these to you that we just got that Susie just sent us. Let's see, I'm going to fold this back like that. All right. This one is tied off too. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Undo that. So if one of the leaders, and I'm going to look at the chat to see what numbers are being suggested as far as the number of hats to give away, you know, minimum of one or more. And then if somebody would also type in my phone number in the live chat, because what I'm going to ask you to do once we decide how many hats is I'm going to take the first text. If we choose one hat, then the first text that comes in is going to get that hat. If we choose more than one, then you know in sequence going down, and if you come in too late, then you're not going to get a hat today, but you might get a hat at another time. So I'm going to look, see 3 sounds. Susie is suggesting 3. And thank you to Susie as well for typing my number into the live chat. So we're going to go with 3 hats today, which means I will invite 3 individuals, and we might not get 3 people that want to step out into the light and actually share their information. I certainly won't share it with anyone else. But if you want to share your information, better get my phone out of my pocket. If you want to text me your name and your address, then I will go ahead and give away 3 hats today so that you have a chance to, and I'll show you the hats as well. You can have your pick. Just get my phone fired up here. Okay. So let's take a look at the hats, and then you can decide whether or not you want to text me. And if we don't have anybody that is one text today, that's okay. I'll just hang on to the hats. No rush. And Susie is very, very good about protecting these hats. I think I've counted, this will be the 3rd layer that I'm having to get through in order to access these hats. Oh, there we go. All right. Pull these out. Oh, I like these red ones with the white lettering, Susie. These are really cool. All of them are cool, but let's see here. I've got this on my lap and I'm trying to balance it. Let me set this over here for a second, and I'll go with this first gathering of hats. There are other ones beyond this as well. And this block lettering, I told Susie I really like this block lettering, and from the way people have picked hats in the past, I think others like the block lettering as well. So we've got this black hat with the white lettering, kind of a black style or a white style block lettering on a black hat. I'll get the color right eventually. Then we got these white hats with the black style block lettering as well. Oh, I better not assume that they're all the same. Some of them are different. Then we've got this really cool, sparkly block lettering that's kind of a bluish color. I don't know if you can see that in the shot or not. Hopefully you can. And green. I like the green as well. Green is super cool. And there's kind of a silvery one. This is really a neat one too. Susie, you really have outdone yourself this time. These are super cool. The block lettering with kind of a glitter effect to it as well. And a red one as well. Super cool. And a red hat with white lettering, black style lettering. Same one. Red one with black block style lettering. And then we have a turquoise one with white lettering on it. So if anyone is interested in getting one of these hats, I've got more that I could show you as well, but they're kind of hard to handle. I'll offer these today. The first 3 individuals that want to send me a text, 920-454-0393. And if we don't get anybody, that's okay. I'll just set these to the side. We'll go back to the machine. I just got one text that just came in. I heard it come in. So I'm going to give that individual the first option to pick one of these hats. The black, the white with the glittery options, the red or the turquoise. And then look at all these other hats that Susie prepared as well. Haven't even gotten to those yet. All of these on top of it. Plus I have the ones from the previous time as well. So a lot of choices. but we'll limit it today for sake of time. I'm going to set these over here with the box. This is where having an assistant would really be helpful. So these are our options again, and I'll just see who sent me a text. I'll set these down real quick. So this text is from Jackie from the great state of Ohio. I'm not going to tell you anything else other than that, but it's Jackie from the great state of Ohio. I'm going to have her pick. So if she's in a live chat right now, I don't know if Jackie is not in the live chat right now, she can just text me her preference on her hat of choice. So we've got quite a few, even in this smaller cluster right here, we have quite a few choices that she could pick. The black one with the white lettering. We've got this one that has kind of a glitter effect as well, the white one. This one is a real pretty blue, green, silver, red, and then we have the red hats. Oh, I missed one. We have the red hats with the white block lettering. I think these are all the same. Yikes, almost dropped it. Oh, that one's different. The red one with the black block lettering. And then finally this real pretty turquoise one with white block lettering. Oh, I didn't even notice there's a turquoise one behind it that has kind of a black glittery block lettering as well. So there's actually two turquoise options. I didn't realize that at first. So these are the options for Jackie. She's the only one that texted so far. So Jackie has her pick. And if she wants to type it in the live chat, that's fine. Otherwise, she can text me and I'll clarify with her that I'm picking the correct one to send to her out in Ohio. And thank you again to Susie for making all of these amazing hats that we can, systematically give away to folks. They've gone as far away as London, England now. Adam got 2 of them. And so Susie's hats are now in London and they're all over the place. I've lost track. Susie could probably type in the live chat where they've gone so far. But wow, what a generous thing to do. What a generous thing to do. Turquoise with glitter. Turquoise with glitter. I'm going to make sure I'm picking out the right one to set it to the side. So this one here is the turquoise with glitter, which is a black block style with glitter. And this is the other one that's white. So this is the one that I'll set aside for Jackie from Ohio. And thank you again for taking time to shoot me a quick text, and I'll get that mailed this week to you. And thank you again to Susie for making it. I wouldn't have a clue where to start with making something like this, but Susie has mastered it already. So I'll set that to the side and we'll be good to go. All right. So I'm going to set Jackie's to the side so I don't give it away to someone else mistakenly. All right, I'm going to balance these real quick. All right, got them balanced. Okay, so let's resume. Am I willing to ship one to Holland, to Rhea? Absolutely, I would. Absolutely. It'll probably cost me about $20, maybe $30, but any of our family that wants one of Susie's super cool hats, I will ship them anywhere in the world, including Holland. So yeah, if Rhea has access to texting my number and can do that, that would be super cool. Otherwise, reach out through Facebook Messenger or through email and send me your mailing address in Holland. and your preference as far as one of those hats that I just showed, and we will send Susie's hat to Holland. No problem. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. Okay, let me set my phone down for now. Officially, with the one that's going to go to Jackie in Ohio, and then the one that we're going to try to send to Ria in Holland. The offer of hats is closed for the day. So we were prepared to offer 3. We're only going to offer 2 today. One's going to go to Ohio, which in Japanese means hello. Actually, I think it means good. Yeah, it means good because Ohio, yeah, in Japanese, Ohio gozaimasu is good morning. Yeah, pretty sure it is. Yeah, it is. And so, yeah, so Ohio means good. Yeah, so the people in Ohio are good. Like Jackie's good. Yeah, she's good. She's going to get one of the real cool hats, and then the other one we'll send to Holland once I get the information, the name, the address, and everything from Ria. And if someone wants to type my email address, maybe that'll be the easiest way for Ria to send the information to me. Someone can type my email address in the live chat, scottgellerms@gmail.com. That would be great. And then Ria can reach out to me that way, and we'll get that hat to Ria. And again, whenever someone receives a hat, it would be really, really cool if you're willing to share a picture of yourself with the hat, or share a picture of the hat if you're just going to display the hat. Not everybody wears hats. Not everyone wears hats, but you might want to have a hat nonetheless. Then show a picture of the hat up on the shelf or on your sewing space by your machine. Give us something, would you? Give us something. If Susie's willing to take the time to make the hat, and I'm willing to absorb the expense of shipping the hat to you, then take a quick picture and send us a picture back, would you? And then we can share it on Facebook and maybe even share it on the live stream as well. That would be awesome. That would be greatly appreciated. Oh, and someone likes Japanese. Someone likes Japanese. Yeah, I don't know a lot of Japanese, but I know a little bit. A little bit of Japanese. I know a little bit of Hebrew. I know a little bit of Yiddish, a little bit of German, a little bit of French. I love languages. I love languages. I know a little bit of Arabic. So if any of our watchers, I know we have people that watch our channel in Saudi Arabia, in Iran, other places like that. I will greet you by saying Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, kefalik walham. So that's a little bit of Arabic as well for our followers that speak the Arabic language. So many beautiful languages to learn, aren't there? I will probably die eventually wanting to learn more languages, but they're so much fun to learn, aren't they? Yeah, so much fun to learn. Yeah, Sunny has gone through several phases of chemo, and if any of the leaders, if any of the leadership team want to reach out to me as well. I know leaders are sometimes like, well, I'm part of the leadership team. It's probably not appropriate for me to ask for a hat. It absolutely is appropriate. So if a leader wants to text me or email me as well, and give your name again, give your address again. I know I have your name and address somewhere because I've sent leaders different things over time. But send that information again, and I'll shoot you off a hat, one of Susie's Cow Country's hats, and we can clarify in our dialogue which one you're most interested in. If we can zero in on it, we'll do that. Otherwise, I'll just mail you one of the hats that I showed today during the live stream. All right. So I totally lost track. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now we're going from primary patterns into combination patterns. Combination patterns we're going to do next during the live stream. And then I had some other sew-offs planned, but we may run out of time. We may just be able to sew decorative ornamental patterns today, primary, secondary, no, not secondary, primary combination patterns on this machine today. that belongs to Donna Salewski, Donna Salewski. But I just don't want to. I don't want to run crazy long. But if you tell me, hey, let's just keep going, we might keep going. You never know. So unless we run out of bobbin threads, since we swapped that bobbin back, I'd flip the bobbins. If you join the live stream late, I do the first sew off with a straight stitch, and the top stitch is way, way off. Way off. You can kind of see it way over here. It's real weak. And I say, I know what happened. And so we learned the power of the bobbin. If all of a sudden you change out a bobbin, you rewind a bobbin and you pop another one in, and your stitching goes wonky, where your stitch tension balance all of a sudden is off, it's because bobbins react differently in the bobbin case in the raceway. And we learned that firsthand today. Those of you that were here in the very beginning, you saw that happen, and you saw how quickly we were able to remedy it by putting the original bobbin back in that I calibrated the machine with. So yeah, the power of bobbins. Who knew? I knew that already, but it was a great learning lesson nonetheless. All right, so now we're going from primary patterns to combination patterns, and we'll be moving both knobs potentially, and we'll have to set our stitch width on 3 and leave it alone. We'll have to set our stitch width on 3. I just moved it to 3 right now, and we can't mess with it with the combination patterns on the 500A. All right. And I'll probably also, I'll leave the stitch length alone for right now. I'll leave the stitch length alone. Okay, so moving into combination patterns, we've done a number of primary patterns you can see here. Now we're moving into the combination patterns. Okay, let me adjust the camera a little bit again. Move that combination camera. Aha, I'm so confused. All right, almost got it. We're so close. And again, thank you to Emma for giving me this snaky thing. It's kind of fun to manipulate the camera and to be able to be hands-free. And the camera, is in a place where we can see what's going on. All right, there we're good. All right, pretty much good. Okay. I might have gotten another text. Hold on. I think I just got another text. Hold on. Or a Facebook message, maybe. Let's see. Let me see who this is. Hold on a second. Now, someone just sent me a text, and they said, "Love one," but they didn't put any information in there, so I don't know who it is. So if someone that just sent me a text typing "love one," and I'll just say that the prefix of your phone number, without giving anything away majorly, is 38 are the first digits of your phone number, 38. So if you would be so kind as to send a follow-up with your name and your shipping address, then I'll go ahead and see if I can get one of you. So if you just send a text and all you typed was "love one," then send another text with your name and your information for shipping, please. And that may be our friend from, that may be Ria from Holland. I have no idea. Yeah. All right. I'm going to move forward. I'll wait for that follow-up text. Because if I walk into the post office and I say, I want to ship this hat to Love One, they're going to look at me like I probably need to. Yeah, they're probably going to call EMTs to check on me to see if I need help. So, yeah, give me a little bit more to go with, please. Give me a little bit more. Ha-ha! Yeah. Ha-ha! All right. So what I'm doing right now, or what I'm going to do, is we're going to move into these combination patterns, and we're going to have to change both knobs. So I'm going to kind of angle the camera that way a little bit. There we go. So I've got on the other primary patterns, I was able to pretty much leave it on B all the time. I didn't have to push this in only but once when I moved it from A down to B, and then we left it alone. Now we need to move it again. So we're going to be moving this gold knob from B all the way down to F like in Foxtrot. So I'm pushing it in, move it all the way down. And again, whenever you're changing stuff on a machine, always make sure that the needle is clear of the material. Make sure the needle is clear of the material, because that needle is going to move when you're changing the settings. Okay, so I just moved the gold one to F. It should be, yep, just making sure it's locked in place. And that's the thing when you're moving these knobs, when you move it there, make sure it pops back out and that it's locked into place. So now I'm going to be moving the brown one to L. I got to move the brown one to L, and I do that by pulling it out. I've got to pull it out and then move it all the way down to L. And you just heard it click into place. So now we have the gold one. We have the gold one, which we push in on F, and we have the brown one that we pull out to change positions for the letters on the right side, and we have that on L. So we have F, L, F, L. And again, on the stitch width, we have to leave that. We leave that. I'll show you the pattern selection first. And you can actually see the stitch width in the shot. We have to leave that on 3 for the combination patterns. For the primary patterns, we are able to move this around. On the combination patterns, the smarter folks than me that designed this machine say, put it on 3. So I'm going to leave it on 3. And then our stitch length is right around 20. I might make that just a hair long. Yeah, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. So we're going to leave that one alone. And again, we have the option, if we want to, we can turn this and lock it into place, kind of like you see me doing right now, so that it doesn't potentially move. All right, let me set the camera back down, or actually connect it back to the table. And I'll bend the snaky thing to get us back into a position where we can hopefully see what we want to see. And I'm a little bit too close. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, that's a pretty good shot. That's a pretty good shot, I think. All right, so we're going to be doing, we did the primary patterns. Now we're going to be doing our first combination pattern. So let's see what this looks like. And then I'll take a look at the time and just see how much time we have left. All right, let's give this a go, see what we think. Here we go. Got to check my bobbin level real quick. Yeah, we're getting pretty low on bobbin thread. Hopefully we can finish it out. So this is the one we just did, which is, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, but we could tighten it up even more and make it even cooler if we wanted to. But I think for sake of time, we'll just go with what we have here. And you can come up with your own name for what this pattern might be that we just did. And again, this is considered a combination pattern. And again, with the combination patterns, you do not have the discretion to adjust the stitch width. You need to set it on 3 and leave it alone. Set it on 3 and leave it alone. So I can show you a closer look at this. This again is our combination pattern that we just did. And again, I always like things to be tight and defined. This is fairly defined, but it could certainly be even more defined if if we were to tighten up that stitch length just a little bit more. And our lock stitch, if I turn it over, beautiful lock stitch as well. Lovely, lovely lock stitch. Kind of looking over my shoulder, like, why does he keep getting closer? It's because I'm looking over my shoulder and my hand will go a different direction. So yeah, it's a lovely stitch. I don't know what you would call it. You might have your own name for that combination stitch, but it is a lovely stitch. Lovely, lovely stitch. And again, you can change the look of it. You can change the look of a stitch like this by manipulating that stitch length. On this particular combination pattern, we do not have the discretion to modify the stitch width. We set it on 3, we leave it alone, but you could certainly change the look a little bit more by goofing around with the stitch length, tighten it up more, stretch it out more, whatever you wanted to do by changing that stitch length. Yeah, beautiful stitching, beautiful, beautiful stitching. I know that Donna is going to be really, really stoked when she watches this video. I don't think she was able to make the live stream today, but she'll be really excited to see what her machine is doing now. All right, let me get that back into place, and we'll go on to our next combination stitch. So our next combination stitch is going to be EL. E as in Echo, L as in Lima, or E as in Echo, L as in Lemonade, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm not going to keep moving the camera back and forth. I'm just going to leave it static for now. So I'm going to change my gold one over to E because we're on F right now. Move it up 1. There we go. And then I'm going to change the brown one by pulling it out. I'll change that over to L. Basically just moving it down 1 because we were already on L. So the brown one I don't have to change because we were on FL, like Florida, and now we're going to EL, so the one can just stay as it is. Oh, the only one I had to change is the gold one from F to E. Yeah, okay. I figured it out. All right, so let's do that one next. We'll do the EL, and we'll see what we think of this pattern. Take my take-up arm all the way up. All right, here we go. Just making sure, yeah, making. I was making sure that I had clicked it all the way back into place, because if you don't click it all the way in, you'll get a straight stitch, but I did. And this is microscopic almost. This is one of those where we would want to probably re-sew it and give it a little bit longer stitch length to kind of stretch it out a little bit more, because it's really hard to see. It almost looks like a heartbeat. You pull that thread. It almost looks like a heartbeat is what it's trying to generate, but I've got the stitching set so small right now, almost in the satin range. We've got to lengthen that stitch length a little bit to give us a little bit more ability to see what we're stitching there. Kind of show you. Yeah, in this instance, I would make that stitch length a little bit longer. Again, we're set really close to the fine range right now. And on this particular pattern, I think we need to stretch it out a little bit more. Let's take a look at that lock stitch. Yeah, lovely lock stitch as well. This is our lock stitch on the back. Kind of a cool pattern. And again, this is our, I've got to look here. This is our E, what did I say? This is our EL pattern, our EL pattern. E is in like Edward, L is in like lemonade. Yeah, beautiful pattern. All right. How's our bobbin thread doing? We're hanging in there as far as bobbin thread. These class 66 bobbins, the original ones, do hold surprisingly a lot of thread. All right, let's go ahead and get this back into place. We'll go on to our next combination pattern. And again, if you find a certain pattern you like on the 500A, you'll be able to tweak it and fine tune it and get it to the point just exactly where you want it. A lot of people look at this and they go, that's beautiful. I love it. Someone else looks at that and go, no, I agree with Scott. I would go and stretch it out a little bit more because it's just a little bit too much compressed and fine. I want something a little bit bigger. So that's the beauty about patterns, is within the bounds of what the machine manufacturers give you, you can tweak it and you can mess around with it. You come up with different options, totally different options. I wonder if that was, is Mary saying that was her that sent a text message? Maybe that was Mary that sent a text message. I don't know. So yeah, if that was Mary that sent a text message and just said, love one, give me more. The post office cannot get that hat to you with just love one. All right, give me more, Mary. I love it. Yeah. You guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. Yeah, you are. Okay. So we've done so far with combination patterns. We've done FL, we've done EL, and now we're going to try, let's see. That must be Mary sending me a text right now. Okay, IL, trying to see some of the other ones I came up with. I think we'll do one more combination pattern. I've got other ones that I wrote down, but I think I'll do FM. I think I'll do FM, like the station FM. All right, so changing my goal one by pushing it in, and I'm needing to move it from E down to F. All right, got it on F. Now I'm going to pull the brown one out, and I'm going to go from L to M. From L to M. So I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to go up one to M. So I'm done already. That's it. So now I've set the gold one to F, the brown one to M, and we'll see what kind of pattern we get with this. And this will be our last. There's a lot of other combination patterns that we could do, a lot more. But I think for sake of moving forward with the live stream, I think we'll stop here on the combination patterns and just leave you wanting more. Because this machine can do so much more than what I'm going to be able to show you in this live stream today. So much more. All right, so we got it set on FM, like the radio station, and now we're going to stitch this final combination pattern, and then we'll do a little bit of other goofing around with the machine, and then we'll wrap up this live stream because we are already approaching 3 hours. I know it's crazy that we're already approaching 3 hours, but we are. Because when we're together, time goes really fast. Okay, that was Mary that sent a follow-up, and she's from the great state of Florida. Mary is from the great state of Florida. I'll just leave it at that without giving any more information. So due to the generosity of Susie from Minnesota, we're going to be sending a hat to Holland, the country of Holland, where they have those beautiful tulips. Don't they do like a tulip? They do like a tulip festival in Holland every year. And that's where Rhea is from. So Susie's hat that I'm going to mail, if I get that address from Rhea by email or otherwise, I'm going to be sending one of Susie's hats to Holland. I'm going to be sending one to Florida. And maybe that's it. Yeah, Holland and Florida today. And if there's a third name that I'll double check. Wait, let me double check. Hold on a second. Oh, and Ohio. Duh. So I'm going to be sending one to Jackie in Ohio. I'll be sending one to Mary in Florida. And then I'll be sending in the country of Holland, where they have those beautiful, I think it's a tulip festival, isn't it? They do like a tulip festival, and it's like, whoa, beautiful tulip. Whoa, are you kidding me? Whoa, beautiful tulips in Holland. Yeah. So Susie, if you ever questioned, which I don't think you would, because you're also a master gardener as well. If no one knew it, if during the live streams, oh, boy, I wish I could talk to a master gardener and ask some questions about how should I do this planting in the spring? How should I do this planting in the spring? But I don't know any master gardener. I don't know. Yes, you do. Susie, that's in the live chat, is one of my leadership team member, is also a master gardener. So if you want to have a little sidebar with her during the live stream and say, I'm looking to plant such and such in the spring, what recommendations do you have? You have access to a master gardener. You have access to a master gardener with Susie from Minnesota, for goodness sakes. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to do it. So many talented people in our family. We've got master gardeners. We have pharmacists. We have doctors. We have PAs. We have other folks that work in other areas, maybe blue collar jobs. Maybe you have a question about a plumbing job that you're looking to do. I don't know. But we have so many talented people in our family, and you can reach out to them. Now, I'm not trying to offer their services to you, but maybe they'd be willing to share a couple of tips. Maybe they would. Maybe they'll say, get lost, Jack. I have no idea. I don't think so. I think our folks are real kind and real nice, and they'll be able to help a little bit. But, don't ask them to come to your house. Don't ask them to come to your house, especially if you live in Holland. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's probably not going to work. I don't think it'll work. It might work. You never know. But at any rate, we have a lot of talented folks. So anyway, thank you again to the folks that reached out. I'll check my email or my Facebook Messenger to see if I have an address for Rhea in Holland. And then Susie's hats will be, I've lost track. Someone that wants to start tracking where Susie's hats are going. Yeah, I'd love to help. So far, London, possibly Holland, Florida, California, all over. I have no idea. I have no idea. All right, so let's do this next stitch. Our final combination pattern for this 500A. There's so many other ones we could sew, but we're going to stop with FM and see what we think of this stitch. Okay? Yeah. All right. I'm excited. All right. Hold on a second. Another drink. Oh, wow. You ever swallow like a carbonated drink and the carbonation like burns your throat? That's what I just got. Oh boy. Wow. That was kind of exciting and hurting at the same time. Carbonation, who knew it had the power to make your throat like feel like fire, fire, fire. Yeah. Don't do that in an open theater. Don't yell fire in a theater. That's a bad thing. Yeah. Freedom of speech will not protect you there if you're in the US. No, it won't. All right. Our final stitch. Excuse me. Oh, wow. My throat is really messed up now. Our final stitch, F as in Foxtrot, M as in Mary from Florida. And we're going to be doing this final stitch now. Let's see what we think of this. All right. Wow. I never knew carbonation was that powerful. Yeah, now I do. I have a new respect for soda. I do. All right, here we go. I wanted something more dramatic as a final stitch. I can't remember which one I sewed off camera. Was it EP? I might do one more real. Okay, I'll show you this one first. Real quick. All right, pull the thread out of the way. So this is the one we just did, which is kind of I think some people call it a shell. I have no idea. A shell pattern or something like that. And again, I've got the stitch length really super short right now. I should have written those down because I did one that was really interesting yesterday. Maybe it was IL. I have no idea. At any rate, I'll honor my word and we'll stop here. This is the one we just did. This is the FM one, but I did one. Let me show you the one I did yesterday that I thought was super cool. This is our FM one, but then I did this one last. I was doing off camera final calibration of the machine. This one here that looks, I don't even know what that looks like. It looks like an earthquake type detector thing on the far left there. Can you see that in the shot? That was totally a jazzy one, and it was one of the ones that I wrote down for combination patterns, but I don't remember which one it is right now. May have been HQ, but that's the one I was hoping we were going to do last, but that's not the FM one. That's a different one. Yeah, I'll figure it out eventually, maybe not. All right, so this is the one we just did, the FM. And again, we could sew it again and lengthen the stitch length and give it a totally different look, but it's still a cool pattern nonetheless. Yeah, it's cool. Turn it over, look at the lock stitch. No difference. Just a super cool pattern. It's almost like a smaller version of that big one over there, isn't it? It's almost like a smaller version of that one that's 2 columns over the real defined one there. It's our lock stitch. Yeah, so we could play for a long time with this 500A because it has so many options, just like some of the other cam generated Slantamatics as well. The 401A is a great example of another machine you can play with all day long. And again, the 401A, if you didn't know it, is the only Slantamatic that has a slightly larger motor. The 401A has a 1 amp motor. It's technically 0.9, but I just rounded up to 1 amp because when it peaks, it hits 1 amp of power, where the other Slantamatics are going to be more in the range of 0.54 peaking at 0.6 amp, 0.6 amps. So yeah, if you've ever wondered about the 401A, have a little bit more power, it does. And it's possible, I haven't touched every single 500A or 503A. It's possible that Singer, with them always wanting to mix it up and keep it real, it's possible that they may have made some of the 500 series machines with a larger motor as well. They sometimes would do that, because I know I've been surprised a couple times in opening up a machine and saying, I didn't expect that. But Singer got bored sometimes, like on a Friday, the weekend is coming. Hey guys, let's switch out the motors again. All right, sure, go ahead and do that. Yeah. Why don't you guys just leave early for the weekend and stop messing with what's working? Ha! Yeah. But this is all that we did on the live stream today. We could have done so much more. This, again, we're looking at the lock stitch right now. We could have done so much more. But again, we only have so much time together, don't we? But beautiful stitching. It kind of whets your appetite. It whets your appetite for picking up one of these Slantamatics. And if all you do is quilting and you do a lot of quilt blocks, then go with the same machine as Sonny and Craig did. Get a 404. It's going to give you one of the greatest straight stitches you've ever seen in your life. You're going to look at if you have a featherweight already and you pick up a 404 like Sonny did, Sonny and Craig, you're going to be like, I'm going to put the featherweight in the closet and I'm going to use my 404 all the time. Yeah, I will. So lock stitch, top stitch. And you know what? We're at 3 hours and 4 minutes. Unless you guys really, really come at me hard. You come at me hard and you go, no, don't quit yet. We saw that you've got some denim. We saw that you've got some of that compressed felt. We saw that you've got some of that naga hide. We saw that you've got some of that protected full grain leather. We saw that you got some of that bubblegum material already. We saw that you've got some of that saddle grade leather as well. Yeah. So, I mean, if we end it now, I'm cool. I'm good. But if you guys look at one of those other sew-off potentials, say, hey, could you just do real quick before we wrap it up, then I'll do that for you guys. I'll do that. Absolutely. But look at what we did already. Pretty crazy, huh? Yeah, we had a lot of fun already. Well, we can have more fun. There's always room to have more fun. I am a fun guy. I love to have fun, and we can have more fun if you'd like, but I'll leave that up to you. All right. And Rhea from the beautiful country of Holland is saying more, more, more. Say hello to Gina. I just saw her name pop up. Test the power of the machine. Yeah, let's test the power of the machine. Absolutely. All right. So, how will we test the power of the machine? Probably doing one of two things. I'm going to move us back to a zigzag. A zigzag is going to be, should be BM on the primary patterns. So, moving us back to a zigzag. Don't you love this on the front of the faceplate? This little embossed emblem. The 501, the 500A has that, and also the 503A. Are there other models that all of you know of that also have this same beautiful branding mark? Let me show it to you like this. Are there other models other than the 500A and the 503A that have this beautiful branding mark on the front of the faceplate? I think that's spectacular, don't you? I think that's absolutely spectacular, but I don't know if there may be other models that I'm forgetting. I know the 503A has it. I know the 500A has it because there it is. But I know there's some other ones as well that have that same emblem on the front of there, but I think it's super cool. So I'm going to change this back to a zigzag. That's what I was beginning to do. BM, I'm going to push our gold one in, take us back up to B. To be or not to be? That is the question. To be or not to be? And let's see, what else was I going to do? Yeah, BM. I think that'll give us a zigzag. And we already have this one set on M. Yeah, because we just did FM, duh. And I'm going to move our stitch width over to 4. Give us a little bit wider zigzag. Going to move our stitch length down to a reasonable range of about 8 stitches per inch. Yeah, right around between 7 and 8. And I think that'll give us a zigzag. So what I'm going to do to show strength, we talked about this being a direct drive motor machine. There's no belt on it. There's no belt that is going to slip. It's positive traction. The gears off of the output pulley from the tower motor interlaced with the balance wheel. And so we have gear-to-gear traction. So let's do some denim, and we'll see if we can lay down a zigzag going through there. So I've got 2 layers. I'm going to fold it and get us up to 4 layers. And then I'm going to fold it one more time, get us up to 6 layers. This may be too much with this type of a needle. Remember, we're working with a top stitch needle, and top stitch needles, they've got that oversized eye. They've got other features and benefits, I'm sure, but I don't know if they're really good for sewing at this level. So we're going to give it a try, just see what happens. If 6 layers is too much, then I'll knock it down to 4. But this is what we're going to attempt to do and lay down a zigzag with it. Okay, so let's see what happens. Don't you love that voice of confidence? Let's see what happens. So 2 layers, 4 layers, 6 layers. Yeah, that's a little bit of a sew off right there. Let me try to get that underneath the presser foot. And the Slantamatics do not have a hyperextension. Hyperextension is where you can take that presser foot lever and you can push it up a little bit higher than its normal range of motion, and it gives a little bit more lift to that presser foot attachment. But we don't have that benefit with the 500A. I'm actually going to turn it this way, I think. Yeah. All right. And again, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know that the top stitch needle is the ideal needle to attempt 6 layers of heavy grade denim, with this type of needle. I don't know what we're going to get. The other thing I'm going to do real quick is, remember our presser foot pressure being hidden away in here? I'm going to bump us up from 5 to 6. Let's click us up 1 click to 6. I think that should give us enough. Well, you know what? It's 6 layers. Let's go to 7. So we just took our presser foot pressure from 5, where we've been operating the entire time, sewing our 100% cotton with a stiffener. Now we're going to be attempting 6 layers of heavy grade denim with a top stitch needle, a size 90-14. And we're going to bump this up to 7, just in case. Give us a little bit better feed. Give us a little bit better feed. All right, let's see what happens. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't try this. We're just trying it together spontaneously. So we'll see what happens. See if this gives us a good result or a not so good result. Yeah, kind of terrifying, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little bit terrifying. Yeah. All right. And I'm trying to decide now if is it BM or BN? BN? I don't remember. I'll give it a try. Let me move this over. We'll try 2 different stitches on here. I think this is my zigzag. Pretty sure my BM is the zigzag, but it might be a compressed zigzag. All right, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. No, it's not. It's not our zigzag. It's that other stitch that we tried. It's this stitch right here. I couldn't remember for sure. Yeah, it's where is it? It's this stitch did. I think it's this one right here. I think it's that stitch right there. Let me see. Let me see what we got. Turn that around, bring this up. Yeah. It gave us, it's not a zigzag. I think I need to go to the BN. We're on BM right now. Let's try the BN, see if that gives us a true zigzag. It's still a nice stitch, but it's not what I was wanting. So I'm going to change the brown one now. Right now we're on BM. Let me try to go to BN. This might be our zigzag here. And see, there lies the challenge in not having the lid to this machine where we could right away look at it as a quick reference and be absolutely assured that it's going to give us the stitch that we want. So we're just going to try another one. Hey, we got all day. Yeah, we got all day. Let's try it one more time, and we'll try the BN this time. We tried the BM, M like Mike. Now we're trying the BN like Nancy. And we'll see what we get with this one. Yeah, we're not going to give up. We're just going to sew it again. All right, let's see what we get this time. Here we go. That's definitely not it. How did I find it so easily the first time? Goodness gravy. Well, I'm going to stitch. It doesn't matter. I wanted to do a zigzag. Now we're doing something totally different. So that's okay. Get my foot on the foot controller. Here we go. That's almost like the shell pattern that we just did. I can find zigzag again. I really can, but not right now. Not right now. So we did we did 2 different, really in the realm of decorative stitches. We just had the stitch length way too long. Matter of fact, why don't we just hold on a second? Let's just be totally goofy here. Since I'm not finding the zigzag that I want right now, we did it before. And we can do it again. Yeah, we can do it again. See, we did it right here. Wait, wrong side. We did it right there. But for the life of me right now, I'm sewing this one right here. I'm not sewing that one. So, oh, gumdrops. That's okay. We'll just sew it one more time, but we'll do it through 6 layers of denim, and we'll get a little bit more definition out of that decorative stitch. I just won't push it too far. I just won't push it too far. Too far. All right, we'll go right down the goalpost, right down the middle here. All right, we're going to shorten it up a fair amount. All right, so with a top stitch needle, we're going to try to sew more of a decorative pattern. Let me just see which ones I've done so far on here. 3 stitch. Yeah, we'll just make this a little bit tighter. All right, let me try this again. Here we go. Hopefully I have enough presser foot pressure. All right. Well, we didn't do the zigzag, but we did something even more fun. We just went through 6 layers of heavy grade denim. You can see the thickness of that. And we goofed around with that one. That wasn't what we wanted. This shows the benefit, again, of having an owner's manual or having the top of the machine, no doubt, right? But we still came up with this one, this cool little shell thing or whatever it would be called. And we just did that through 6 layers of denim. Now, the question you might have as you're looking at this top stitch is, what does the lock stitch look like? Did we maintain stitch integrity going through 6 layers of denim using a top stitch needle, sewing this more decorative ornamental pattern? I think the answer is a definite yes. That's our lock stitch right there. And again, we would have even better definition if we sewed with a slightly smaller needle, but we're still getting a great outcome going through this much denim. Six layers of denim is no little deal. That's a pretty big deal. And I have no doubt as soon as I end this live stream, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah. That's how you set a zigzag on this machine. Because I did it the first time with no problem. But that's the thing, right? That's the thing. So Emma was wanting to see power. I think that 6 layers of denim definitely qualifies as power for this 1962 500A. Definitely qualifies. So I will leave the pattern exactly where it's at, because we actually know what we're getting with this one. It's like Baskin Robbins when you're closing your eyes and you're trying to pick a flavor of ice cream. Kind of like what we're doing right now with this 500A. Yeah, I have no idea. We did it once. That was enough. All right. So let's see if we can get away with doing a little bit of leather now. This will be my final sew off, because I think we just need to wrap things up. This is way too much leather. Let me cut it down a little bit. I haven't done a sewing around in a circle for a while. So we got some saddle grade leather. Let's see which piece is bigger. Yeah, this is a better, flatter piece. We'll use this one. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this back to a stitch to do some sewing around in a circle. So I've got to take my control here, the gold one, I've got to go all the way back up to A. There we go. I think I'm on A. Might be on A. All right, and then I got to take the brown one. I've got to go all the way down to K. So that should give us a straight stitch. Move our stitch width back to center. All right. And I'm going to move my my stitch width back to center, I'm sorry, and then move my stitch length back down to right around 8, between 7 to 8 stitches per inch. I'm not going to go all the way for the max. Right around 8. I think that'll be a good one too. All right. So as a final sew off, there's so many other sew offs we could do and so many other stitches we could generate with primary and combination patterns. But I think for not having an owner's manual and not having touched one of these 500As since I presented it a couple of years ago to our customers out in West Virginia, I think we bumbled through this pretty well. And if I get another 500A that has a lid on top that has all of the stitch patterns highlighted, like a lot of the Slantamatics do, then I'll be able to take you even further down the road. But we've done pretty well. I mean, look at what we generated just kind of bumbling through things here. And then also off camera as well. I got to remember which stitch pattern that is so I can tell Donna, because that's just a really cool one to do, that far one on the side. So yeah, this machine has already deserved graduation, but we're going to take it a little bit further. All right. So my final off deal here, and I usually do it to music, but we still don't have the audio thing solved yet in having music and me talking at the same time. So just listen to the machine run, and we'll do this final sew off again using a top stitch needle, size 9014, Coates & Clark dual duty XP thread, saddle grade leather, and we'll just stitch around in a circle. I'll keep going around and around and around and around until I can't go any further, and then we'll call her done. And thank you again to Susie for the hats. I will work on getting those hats off to Ohio, to Florida, and to the country of Holland this week, or first thing next week. I'll get it done. I've got some other machines in the works right now. Plus, I still need to pack up that machine to go back to the Bronx in New York as well. So busy, 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 busy guy. If anyone wants to volunteer to come and be in my workshop, talk to one of the leaders. If they give the blessing, they do a background check on you, and they say, okay, that person's okay, they're safe. Who knows what the possibilities are? Yeah, who knows? Someone knows. I wish they'd tell us. So we all knew. Yeah, I wish they'd tell us. All right, let's see what happens here. I haven't sewn, did I sew leather with a top stitch needle before? I don't remember if we did it or not. So if we break the needle, I'll just put another needle in. I've got other needles. Susie sent me like 10 million needles. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. The voice of confidence. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. Stand the leather, stand the leather, stand the leather. Stop there. Let's cut the threads real quick. Let's cut the threads. All right, now we can sew in a circle and have a little bit of fun, hopefully. All right, get ready to make the turn, Scott. Get ready to make the turn. We're almost there. Oh, I'm off the material. Oh, golly, Jiminy crickets. Get back on there, buddy. Get back on there. Did I break the needle? I don't think I broke the needle. I might have bent the needle. All right, let's try it again. I was so close to the edge, I didn't make the turn in time. Hold on a second. Oh, that's not bad. That's just a little piece of thread right there. I'll leave it. I'll leave it. I'll leave it. Holy mackerel. And I didn't lose. Look at all my fingers and thumbs left. All my fingers and thumbs are left. Yay. All right. Well, that's fun. I don't know. I'm a child at heart. Most of you know that, I think. When I used to shoot just videos, I would always have music cranking. I would do dancing and other fun stuff like that. I need to get this audio thing fixed so I can get back to dancing during live streams. We can all dance together, you know, like it's just healthy for us. It's healthy for us, isn't it? So yeah, that was my little, that's where I sewed off the leather. No one saw that. Yeah, you did. Okay. So this is just for fun, but it shows you as well that a top stitch needle 9014 can manage saddle grade leather just fine. Probably about close to 4 ounces leather if you look from the side there. We just went through that. Laid down beautiful stitching. I had it set right around close to 8 stitches per inch. And we maintained beautiful stitch quality all the way through, even as I was kind of torquing that leather a little bit to get around some of those corners. So this is a great way to end the live stream. Our top stitch, our lock stitch as well is absolutely spot on. You can even see it through the nap of the leather there. Laid down some beautiful, beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching. Come up a little bit. There we go. Yeah. So can top stitch needles sew leather? Apparently they can. Who knew? Yeah. So yeah. So on this live stream, I'll just kind of revisit what we did. Revisit what we did on camera. Where's my denim? I got denim somewhere. There it is. So we did this as kind of a wrap up, my little sewing in a circle thing. It's kind of my thing, kind of just for fun. Yeah. We did this denim, 6 layers of denim, just for fun as well. And we also did this decorative stitch kind of down the middle, since I could not find the zigzag. What happened to the zigzag? We lost it, but we'll find it again. We'll find it again. So that was kind of fun to do as well. And then last but not least, we did all of this. Wait, that's the lock stitch. There we go. Now I have it facing the right way. We did all of this as well on this live stream. Once I get the camera orientated right. There we go. That's not right. If you're feeling seasick, I am too. So don't worry. We'll get it eventually. Come on there, buddy. Oh, you've been so good the whole time. It's crashing and burning. Come on. Oh, there we go. I almost got it. Almost got it. All right. There we go. Emma, your thing is dying. I killed it. I killed it. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to stop right there. This thing is like going monkey crazy here. All right. So along with all of this, we also sewed all of this as well. And remember, we launched with that other bobbin and our top stitch was way off. And we laid down a beautiful top stitch. We laid down a much smaller one, probably about 12 stitches per inch. We laid down a zigzag. So the machine has zigzag. We know that. And then we went through all these other stitches as well on this live stream. So I think we've covered the bases. We covered the bases for sure. I think the machine deserves to graduate, top stitch, lock stitch, all that. And I'm going to reorientate this camera so you can see this 500A, and then we'll wrap up this live stream. And again, we could have sewn a lot more stitches. We could have done a lot more sew-offs, but I think we covered the bases pretty well. So let me see if I can get this to cooperate. There we go. Almost got it. I'm so close. I'm so close. Yes, I got it. So let me turn this sideways so we can see this machine and all the sewing that we did. There it is. So maybe this gives you a new appreciation for, number one, the Slantomatic series. Maybe it gives you a new appreciation specifically for what it's like to try to sew and do a live stream when you don't have the top of the machine that tells you how to do the stitch settings and everything, and you don't have a manual, and you have to shoot from the hip, which we did today and I think we had success. So I declare that this machine is officially graduated from the workshop. Thank you to all of you that joined the live stream. Thank you to the leaders as well. Thank you to Susie for the hats and all the fun we're having with those and all the places they're going. Crazy. And thank you as well to Donna and to Joanne Fabrics as well for giving us the opportunity to see this 500A do its dance with all of these amazing stitches off camera. Yeah, it'll focus eventually. It will. All these fun stitches off camera and these fun stitches on camera as well. Let me see if I can find them. Yep, there it is. All these fun stitches on camera as well that we did during this live stream as well. So keep your eye open for a 500A. And just as a word of suggestion, if you're going to consider getting a 500A, get one that has the top of the machine so you know where to set the stitches. Yeah, just do that. If someone's trying to sell you, hey, I don't have the top of the machine, and you'll be like, no, I saw that live stream, and it's a little bit more of a challenge when you don't have the lid that gives you all the settings for the stitches. So I think I'll wait until I get a 500A with the lid. Yeah, lids are, who knew lids were that important, but they are. Yeah, they are. Okay. All right, you take care. Thanks again to everybody, and thanks to the moderating leadership team for taking care of everybody. And I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to sign off. Yeah. Oh, I can turn my light on now. Yay. Yeah, it's better with the light off for the camera anyway. Better with the light off. They keep coming. They're multiplying. Susie, they're multiplying. Oh, my goodness. Oh, this is fun. And Donna's going to be so annoyed. She'll be like, you blocked my machine. You blocked my machine. What are you doing? I'll move them. All right. Take care, everybody. God bless you. And the next live stream will probably be on Saturday, unless I show the packing of the machine from the Bronx. So God bless you. Take care. And we will talk soon. Yeah, that's the one that's already spoken for. I better not get them messed up. This is the one for Jackie. I better move that one. All right. Where's my phone? I lost my phone. We'll do the little countdown thing that we've been doing. All right. Where is it? There it is. The official countdown. I better remember to ring this too. $30 seconds to go. 30 seconds. Say your goodbyes quick. Actually, the chat is live for a little bit after I end the live stream, so you'll have a chance. You'll have a chance. All right, here goes the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.